And welcome everyone. Welcome back to Puzzle Week. This is day number 2. I'm joined here with Maurice Ashley. Maurice, how are you feeling today? Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year to you too, man. What up? What up? This is a new season for me doing this Puzzle Rush commentary, but you know I've done so much stuff before. I'm always ready for something new, and it's going to be exciting as these amazing solvers tackle some really difficult puzzles.
Absolutely. And you are known as the puzzle man. Every time I watch your streams, it's always you've been doing your puzzles. I have a few things for you set up. Gotta look at some puzzles. So this should be your thing. So I'm really excited to do this with you. I'm gonna jump real quick into the format so everybody knows what we're doing today. Today it's survival mode. Invited streamers are paired up in teams of 2 to score the highest possible survival score that they can get with the rolling prizes. Now, what are those prizes? I'll tell you what the prizes are. Today, the best overall score win $1,000 just for Maurice. You get $1,000 for solving puzzles.
It's ridiculous, but it's great. I mean, chess is on another level right now. I can't imagine the old guys from the past saying, "Wait a second, what? Just for having fun, training, solving puzzles, you get money? Amazing."
Absolutely, absolutely. Second best overall scores gets $500. There's a lot of prize money here. Everybody can see. Longest attempt chat is the one who goes through one, because after each hour you can reset the score, quote unquote, to go for a new high break. And if someone goes for as long as like an hour and 20 minutes before they get the free wrong, that is the longest attempt. So it pays to be slow today, chat. It pays to be slow, and that's why I am such a great commentator for this, because I'm a very slow person, Maurice. Let's not talk about that.
Slow and deliberate, but I suspect that our great puzzle solvers will figure things out fairly quickly. But nevertheless, they don't want to rush through anything because they know everybody else is going to struggle with some of the more difficult puzzles as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm very excited to see how the great minds think alike, or like do they complement each other, or is there going to be a little bit of friction? Like, no, it's bishop a3. No, it's bishop a5. A little bit of power in there as well. These are the teams competing today, chat. I think you know most of them. Hikaru Nakamura and Levi Rossman are probably the favorites. But another GMIN team, Daniel Wrench and Amon Hamilton, also paired up, which is going to be a great thing to look at. So without further ado, let's jump into our first contenders and let's see how they're doing. Hikaru Nakamura and Levi Rossman are now in the think. They're on number 52. What do you think of this position here, Maurice?
Well, the challenge is clear as you see the arrow indicating the problem as white is threatening the piece on d7. Do you go for mate, allowing this piece to be taken? And look, they figured it out. They figured out exactly what that was. They're cheering right now because that clearly was a very tricky puzzle for them. And in this one, they're showing the h4 idea that looks pretty obvious that black king is stuck. The question is there a mating setup that you can play for? Queen g3 looks obvious, but some pawn move is going to get the king to run out. So they're wondering what exactly should be done here, because it's clear that the king is ready to roll and get out of dodge. And everything they're trying, I'm looking at it too. Forcing moves don't seem to work. h4 check, the king can just take. And then how do you actually deliver a mate? What a strange construction. They're definitely on a difficult one right now. And I would think black's next move is either going to be h5 or f5. So that means black is going to get out. One of those pawn pushes is going to allow black to escape. So it seems you need to do something quickly. Very tricky puzzle. And you also have to worry about if your queen leaves the diagonal, then that black queen could give check as well. So that's another thing. I'm intrigued by this puzzle. Indeed, nothing looks absolutely forcing. No clear. So h4 is the only real, real move that's forcing. Wow.
What you're saying is we need a forcing move because, or else, we're a pawn down. We're trying to win here, and he's just going to escape. And now, yeah, they're actually calculating to see if the escape is, good enough. Or do we need to sacrifice the h4 pawn? Interesting.
Yeah, this one is extremely difficult. They're going to be like this all the way from now. And we're going to be in for a lot of slow play because the obvious move is h4. And after captures, you want to somehow prevent the king from being able to run back to g5. But queen f6 doesn't work because of queen back to g5. The black queen will get in on the act, and then you look like you got no chance of delivering any kind of knockout punch. Curious position indeed. I'm wondering if it's a king move, maybe. Move the king away, h2. No, h5 is coming very fast. I can see why they're stuck. This one is annoying.
It is very annoying. Or I'm gonna say something really stupid. King g3.
Yeah, but king g3 is met by queen f4 check.
And if I trade those and then go king
and
f3,
trade,
do I win that?
Pawn takes king f3, but there's no. Then after h5, you got a bit of problem.
Like take h4 check, and then your king is stuck on the side, and maybe I can run the f pawn then. So we're going very deep, chat. But
we are going deep. I have a feeling that doesn't work out. Yeah, I have a feeling that ends up not working out in your favor, unfortunately, because the f pawn isn't really going anywhere. There's obstacles. There's the f6 pawn that's sitting there. So no, I mean, king g3 would be weird if that actually worked. I'd like to play king g3 at the end of the line, but even that doesn't seem right.
You like to play two moves. Definitely
it's incredible. This puzzle is hard. It may be that it's like, what else can you do? If you trade queens, you can't trade queens immediately. Queen e3 check, trading queens doesn't work. Queen e4.
Wow.
Queen e4 is interesting. Queen e4 with f5 coming. Actually, queen e4 is weird. Can that be right?
Oh, they played it. h4 check. First move.
So they're in. They're all in with h4. Are we going to be able to see the solution to this puzzle if they get it wrong?
They might look back into it, and I might look really nicely to my team and say, "Can you guys send us this puzzle so we can look at it on screen?"
Yeah, I would love to be able to look at a puzzle like this one. I mean, now they've just decided h4 is the right move without seeing the solution in its entirety. I am shocked by that because now you're just down material, a second pawn, and you don't know what the solution is. That's very interesting to have to make the first move. I didn't think the team would do that. That seems like not a great strategy to make the first move and then start thinking because somehow you decided that there is no other move. Interesting strategic decision for this puzzle, or maybe they just decided they don't want to waste any more time.
Here comes, so king h3 here is the idea. This is almost made. They're going to go for queen h4, queen takes h6, it seems.
I think queen h4 and g5 might be more interesting.
Oh, that's what they're calculating right now.
I'm surprised. If f4, the king just runs, so that's nothing. But queen h4 g5 actually does look. I mean, they're on the right track according to the puzzle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then, why can't you play queen h4, king f4, and g5 check, king f3?
Yeah, and what's the next move then?
And then take the h pawn. Like, why don't I run the h pawn up the board?
What about king h4, king f4, queen takes h6 first? So you have to play g5. And no, you're out of checks then.
No, but just...
Oh!
What? They were just gifted the puzzle? They were gifted without even knowing what the solution was? Okay, the engine really should do better than that. We'll take a look at that puzzle later. At least I hope to be able to take a look at that puzzle. But I think it was g5 and then take on h6. You get a pass h pawn that looks pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a quick look.
That
We're going to
seems
stay on this, guys. We have 3 hours of puzzles today, so we're going to stay on them just a little bit longer while we're trying to get some things sorted out so we can get this stuff. But we'll jump to some other streamers right now. And it's even like another endgame with a queen versus a bishop and knight. These are fun endgames.
okay. White is threatening, but wait a second. I'm slightly confused here. Is it black to move? No, it's white to move.
It's white.
It's white to move. We're on white side. I see. It's white to move. So white needs to figure out how to get. These are always some super serious waiting moves after you play your first move. Oh, bishop g7 looks strong. Stalemate you have to avoid. If bishop takes queen, it's a stalemate. So the issue now becomes, what's the next move? As king d4 will happen. What an extraordinary puzzle. Wow. To literally run away.
Yeah, there it is.
And then return. That's amazing. Wow. That was an amazing puzzle. Kudos to them for solving that one. That was absolutely amazing. That's a puzzle. That's not a tactical moment in the game. That was actually a literal puzzle type position. So that was beautiful. That was extremely well done, showing tactical skills there. Now this one is a position puzzle. This one is something that would come out of a game. It looks like something that went totally wild, possibly wrong for black, but at the moment, black has the white king flushed out. And the question is how to stop the king from running to e2. If you just chase the king's ready to go and ready to hide. And you're currently, at least you're even in material. It seems like you might be down, but at least you're even in material. So if you can win anything, then it would be great. Now, can you stop the king from running to e2? Doesn't look like it.
You know what I'm baffled by, Maurice? Yesterday, they played 5-minute Puzzle Rush. You know what the high score was in 5-minute Puzzle Rush? So you only have 5 minutes to play all these puzzles?
What?
55 as well. They would get 55 in 5 minutes. But right now, obviously that's after 3 hours of trying, they get some lucky puzzles. Now they're really thinking into the tank. And I'm curious to see where this is going to go, end up. And they did play the first move, I believe.
Well, let me tell you that Puzzle Rush is a different beast. These are not Puzzle Rush positions. I mean, what you're seeing here is just so complex. You can't blitz through the moves.
They're the same positions. No, they're the same positions.
These are the same positions?
They are the same positions. They're really good. Ali Reza and Hikaru were the one consistently getting 55, 54, and 53. And they already solved one. Wow. We're going to jump over real quick. Let's go on to our next contestants. You might know these faces, everyone. It's Amon Hamilton, Grandmaster Amon Hamilton, and International Master Danny Rens. They're on 52 now without any mistakes. And they copied our layout, so a bit... it's amazing. Looks like a mate here.
Yeah, but there's a c4 check with the queen laying in wait on the diagonal. That's something you have to worry about. And even bishop d4 check you have to worry about as well. So I think c4 check, rook f2 could happen, but then black's going to start some kind of ridiculous sacrificing on f2, and then rook takes a2 check, and see whether or not you get harassed out of your mind. It's like, is your mate going to be enough? You understand what I'm saying? So if you get in queen h5, which looks easy, right? Queen h5 g6, then black is going to be able to push the c pawn, right, which is right next to the bishop, play a check, and the queen enters. And then if you move to h2, then bishop to e5 would check, and your king is just being harassed. So the problem is the straight counterplay against your position. And don't forget about rook takes on h4 as well. The black rook can take the knight to mess up the flow of your attack. Absolutely. As well. So all those are the problems that they're facing here in this puzzle as they try to deal with the mating attack. That's the main problematic in this position. You know, the theme of the mate looks like it's the only thing. Currently, white is down a piece. White is down a full piece. Well, a piece for a pawn, but still too much. And the raking bishops are about to finish white off. So white has to be very careful Although it does still seem like queen h5 and g6, what else can you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's an absolute good question. I really like you pointing out that, white needs to win here, or at least get a stalemate, because white is down. White is down material, and that's a really good thing to point out. How do you approach puzzles in that regard? Do you always look at, am I down material? Am I up material? Do I go for a stalemate or a mate? Like, how do you approach? Oh,
yeah, once they got rook f2, they didn't have any more work to do. They were scared they would have a lot more work to do in that position because the queen sack on f2 was possible, followed by a rook captures on a2. So they are getting a bit of a favor from the puzzle. What do you call it? Puzzle bot, or what's the term for it?
The puzzle generator. Gods. Let's name them deities.
The puzzle gods. Yeah,
the puzzle gods
are being kind. They're being kind because they're terrified that they might make a mistake. They're in survival mode, and they have to keep calculating move by move by move. And if they had to see it all the way through, a human would not have resigned in that position. Then they'd have work to do. But as you're saying, the puzzle gods give them a break when they get the first couple of moves, and so they keep going on and on, which is cool, which is cool for them, which is good for them. But as far as the approach for solving a puzzle, there's so many themes in chess puzzles. There's so many different thematics, whether it's pins, it's forks, it's skewers, it's mating attacks. There's so many different ones that you have to decide which one you're identifying at the moment as the best, most wishful kind of thinking idea. Here we look at this position. The black king seems to be in a mating net. Bishop f6 would normally be just mate. But that bishop on c5 is able to retreat and go back to e7. Now, in a normal position, you would say, okay, but I could win this bishop somehow. Queen d6 check, for example. Bishop f6, bishop e7, queen d6 check. The bishop is pinned on e7. But black as a perpet that black has prepared. Black is prepared to play queen takes e3 check. So black has the threats coming as well. And that king will never get away from all these checks. Queen f3 check is also a check. So somehow white has to win this bishop with check before handling the perpetual check, or at least win the game somehow. Maybe it's a forced mate. I don't think it's a forced mate. It doesn't feel like a forced mate exactly, but this is where they're struggling because they know black has counterplay. So you ask me how to solve this puzzle. I have to first identify the main issues, the core issues. Black's weak king. The other issue, black is certainly threatening to play either queen e3 check or queen f3 check and harass white's king out of its mind. Now that I have that, I realize everything I do has to be with check, or else I'm going to face a perpetual check. I cannot escape this perpetual check. So everything has to be with check. So this is why they're struggling to figure out exactly how do you create a nuanced sequence that allows you to win everything with check. Now, I don't understand why bishop c7 check doesn't get the job done. It looks like
it, right?
It looks like bishop c7 wins the bishop, but instead it's actually this sequence.
I was going to take an e6 first, maybe. Queen d6, queen e6?
Queen d6 is made by king c8, queen takes e6 check. Then the king is going to have to, I mean,
you have to go to b8.
You're going to win this
oh no, it works.
Check.
This works. Queen d6, king c8, queen takes e6. If he goes to b8, you have bishop e5 check. You go to a8, it's queen a6 mate. So you have to go to the 7th rank, and then you take on e7 with check.
Yeah, but what I'm curious about is that's not the main issue. The main issue is after you take with check, are they just going to be gifted this one as well? Because
probably
the main issue is there a perpet on this side? You understand? So that's why they're relieved that the puzzle gods gave them the solution there, because the issue, even after you did all of that, was there going to be a potential perpet that you had to deal with? It reminds me of Kasparov resigning against Deep Blue in that epic game 2 of their match back in 1997, where Kasparov resigned in a position where he had a perpetual check. And he was really upset. And he was like, how did the computer miss that? So here the puzzle gods, as we're calling them, said, you know what, it is a good sequence for you. You can stop the perpetual check that's going to come at your king, or it's a mating attack that is about to happen after you take an e7. So that was these harder puzzles.
Really,
they're getting that break as far as I'm concerned.
Well, to be fair, Maurice, I'm going to be completely honest. There are those endgames where you queen one move before your opponent does. They're only bare pawns, so one pawn each. You queen one move before the opponent does. And the king is already on the second rank, the black king. And then the puzzle gives you, alright, you queened with check. You should win this, when the end game is going to be very difficult there. But we will look at it later, chat. We're going to jump into I Am Rosen. Now we're actually going to listen into them real quick and see how Tatev and Eric Rosen will solve these puzzles.
Knight ef2, bishop f2, knight c2.
Wait, what after king h1?
Knight ef2.
Bishop.
Oh wait, h1 is also hanging. So what is the material right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's equal.
Oh, we're down 3 pawns, but equal minor pieces.
Equal pieces. So knight h2, king h1, knight ef2, bishop f2 with trade on c2. Like and then I guess you take on b2 at the end.
I mean, our bishop is also kind of hanging on c4.
Yeah, so I win that, you win that. I take the pawn on b2, but your bishop on h4 also is kind of loose. I mean, knight on h4 is loose. Okay, so knight h3, king h1, knight ef2.
I have an idea.
Bishop f2.
Knight h3, king h1, rook b4. Threatening to win the queen. And the bishop's also hanging.
Can I take bishop b4?
Oh, good point. Never mind.
Take your queen.
Yeah, e4.
Come on, go, like, follow the line I'm saying. So knight h3, king h1, knight ef2.
Bishop f2.
I trade queens.
Okay.
And then I take on f2. You go king g1. I take your rook. Your knight is hanging. Am I not just stop a rook? Am I hallucinating?
That's a good point. Yeah, and like if we lose the bishop, we win the knight. Man, like so many things end up hanging. I guess that's nice winning the rook in the end. I like it.
This one looks too simple.
But let's do it, because sometimes these are still kind of simple. Yeah, we're just winning a rook. Nice job, Tatev.
Whoa.
Okay, so Black's on the verge of promoting. We might have a mating net.
So is there merit to queen h3 and then e4 first? But
so queen h3, king e2, e4 always opens the diagonal. I don't like it almost ever.
Okay, yeah, that's bad. There's no
and if you
f
move your f.
What?
I was about to say the f pawn allows mate.
Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, crazy idea. Always got to consider a rook g1, king takes, and then like no, but no. Okay, a simple queen h2.
I was gonna say, how about queen h3, king e2, rook g1 with queen f1 mate because the bishop's on h6. That definitely feels like the answer.
That looks super forcing, and I love it.
Like rook a1, queen to the first rank, bishop e1, they all fail. And where we can't be checked in a meaningful way, I'm pretty sure that's it.
Nice detective work, sir.
Take that.
Nice detective work. All right, this is one of those fun ones. Do we
throw
in a check
I actually
first?
like these ones.
All right, and we're back, everyone. Those were some good puzzles being solved by Amon and Mr. Ranch there over over there, Mr. Range over there. That sounds pretty weird. But what they can do, Maurice, we can do better. So I would say, let's start some survival. And I really want to know, let's be educational here. How do we approach the puzzles? Let's start one. Take it from here.
All right. Well, anytime you look at a puzzle, you've got to look at the main problem, the main sequences in a position. So you want to know, what am I supposed to be doing? The first thing I look at, safety of the kings. You look at the white king on A1. You see, okay, that king looks like it should be in some sort of danger. The black king on F8 looks like it could be in danger as well. What other tactical elements? You've got the pawn on H6 that's trying to become a queen. So black has to be mindful of what's going on in this position. Does black have a way of just attacking? So you look at your forcing moves. And this one looks pretty straightforward. A forcing move is on the board, check being the most forcing move of all. So queen to F1 simply gets the job done because the king has nowhere to go. And then you just drop it and you know you're going to win if you play that. So that one wins easily. Just take the queen and we keep going until they give us the food.
Boom.
All right. All right. Another easy one is about king safety again. You see the white king is hampered. Your king you don't have to worry about. Well, I always think first about my position, the safety of my position, my opponent's ideas. Then I look at my own ideas.
I see.
Always first. But given that black does have a significant check threat, and it turns out it's going to be made in 2, we play the check down on D1, and that's it. That's going to get the job done.
It helps that you only have like a few pieces. That makes this a little bit easier.
It makes it a lot easier. Nothing too complicated here. And the early ones are like that. Again, a back rank issue. I'm looking at my position again. I see that my game is about to get toasted. I mean, there's threats coming at me fast. So I need a move that's powerful. Luckily, white's king is hampered. So we do the same back rank, queen A1 this time, and just start munching crunch all the way through. Now, this one, white to move, has the simple, straightforward one. So this one is just aggressive pieces attacking a key square. The black king is compromised. The white king looks really well protected, so I don't have to worry about anything. Turns out I just have a straightforward mate on B7, so no biggie there. Now this one, my king is about to get checked with queen takes, and queen takes on H8, winning tons of material. So I've got to deal with either that threat, where I'm just looking at material parity at the moment, but I do have what looks like a significant check. Remember, check is the most forcing move. I should point out, the most forcing moves in chess, the first most forcing is a check. The second most forcing is a threat to checkmate. All right, so that's the first two you always look at. The next one is a capture, because usually when you capture something, your opponent has to redress the material balance. You've got to somehow get something back. They can't just give it to you. So a capture comes next. The other one I would say very forcing is the threat to promote. That's winning material. If the pawn just promotes, you get potentially a queen, and that's massive material. And the fifth and final one is the threat to capture something for free. So those are the 5 you always want to cycle through. The first one is check. The next one is the threat to checkmate. The next one is a capture, almost equal to a pawn promotion, or basically equal to a pawn promotion, which is winning material on the spot. And finally, a threat to capture. So those are the things I always am going to look at when I'm looking for forcing moves. Here, the first thing is a check. And the big check I see 3 different checks, queen G1 and queen H3, make no sense whatsoever at the moment. But you still look at them. You got to glance at everything just to make sure you're not missing anything. But the one knight G3 check, that one looks attractive as it's a fork and the rook is unprotected. So that's when you play that. And then here you quick glance again. Only good looking check seems to be to take the rook and end up material. So you go with that. And that was the winning plan there. This one, now we start to get to a little bit cheekier puzzles. We see the white king looks secure. I always look at my position first. My king looks secure. There looks to be no threats at all. So what it's going to be is going to be some kind of winning sequence for me. What do I look at? A check first. The only check I have is on D8. When I do that, the king's going to have to go up to H7. And suddenly king and rook are on the same diagonal. And I happen to have a diagonal piece. There we go. Easy money. We check.
Boom, baby.
Pick off the rook with check on the next move. We don't see any funny moves that black will have, so that's just free food. All right, now this one, again, as my king, there's a queen f2 check problem, but I'll have bishop g2. So back to the real action then, I just need to deal a deadly blow to black. I see checks, I see queen e5 and queen g5, but as I look at queen g5, I see that there's a rook hanging on d8 as well. So that's probably where I'm going to go with the move. And at the end, it's going to be queen f2 check for black, but I'll have bishop to g2. Well, in this case, actually, I'm going to be able to take on d8 with check, so no problem there. Keep going. This one, the white queen has gone astray and is looking to take my knight, but in the meantime, I have a deadly looking check on f2. Easy money, grab it and run. And then when the king moves, looks like a mate on the back rank. So we're going to play that. Now
look at that. So sorry to interrupt you, real quick. So what you do is look at very forcing moves. That's always what you do. First thing, you look at your own position. What is my king safety? Do I have anything to do with herself? And what I kind of sense is also you look at, you know, the undefended pieces, or like the out of place pieces, or is that a step too far already?
No, it's very important to look at undefended pieces as well. But if a puzzle, one of the things about a puzzle when you're doing puzzles, and it's somewhat tricky to tell you the truth, because in a real game, you don't have these clues. You don't know it's your turn to move and something significant is about to happen. That's a major hint. And so you want to be in that mindset when you're actually playing your own game that, could I be winning right now? Could I be winning right now? Could I be winning right now? Nobody's tapping you on the shoulder saying, there's a win right now. There's a famous story Garry Kasparov had that he was playing a game. Frederick Friedel, actually, who's the head of Chess Base, told me this story. He said, Garry was playing a game, and this is in the early days of engines. And he was in the middle of a game, and the engine found a winning move. And Garry didn't see the winning move. Garry played something else. I forget what the result was. But after the game, Frederick Friedel said to Garry, Garry, the engine said you had a winning move in this position. And Garry just went instantly, oh my God, of course. Because he didn't know, he didn't have that clue before. Just tell him there's something. He's like, oh damn, there it is, right? So in these kind of puzzle rush situations, you're told there's a win. Otherwise, you generally give up, right? You just be like, I'm not gonna, this is too hard. You might just miss it. You just might think I have to do something else. So when we're given an individual position where there could be something that we know is there, or we try to train ourselves to always think maybe my opponent just blundered, that's a quality you want to have, then yes, you start looking at key things. You start looking at the forcing moves, the checks, and you also want to be alert if your opponent has put any pieces in weird places. The last puzzle we had where knight g3 check was the solution, forking the king and rook. The rook was minding its own business back on the back row. It wasn't like it was way out of place or anything. It just happened that knight g3 check picks you off. You're like, sorry, you're just going to die. So sometimes it's just about the setup, but you always are looking for something forcing. If it's not forcing, then it's clearly not the solution. Here, queen a4 check picks off the knight on e4. It's essentially the key forcing move in the position. There were other forcing moves. You could play bishop e3, you could play b4, but that one really catches your attention.
All right, the last one, and then we're going to go back to the streamers.
Absolutely, and this one is all about, again, forcing moves and loose pieces dropping off, as John Nunn used to say, famously said. And in this position, my knight on f2 is hanging. If I only think about the danger to my knight on f2, two pieces attacking it, I might panic for a second, say, how do I get my knight out? But it so happens that you have a forcing move. In this position, you could play either queen h6 check, queen g5 check, queen f4 check. Those are the checks. Knight d3 is another check, but looks irrelevant. Once you see queen f4 check, you say, that looks kind of good. There's a rook hanging on h2, the rook that's attacking my knight, so I'm going to munch on that one, and that's going to be enough to stop. So good. Indeed, it is all about the weaknesses in your opponent's position, but in the end, if you know it's a solution, check the forcing moves. They'll give you a good clue as to where you should be going. Not all the time will you solve the puzzle, but there is no way you solve a puzzle without incorporating forcing moves.
Absolutely. Very good. Look at that, man. Educational moments with Maurice Ashley. Check him also out. twitch.tv/GM Ashley for all the puzzle action. For more puzzle action chat, we're actually going to take a quick gander at Nemo and Alicia Santamaro, who are now on number 50. Alicia is a streamer from Italy, and Nemo obviously signed up with CLG, Counter Logic Gaming, is now really an esports becoming. She's been streaming a lot, and they're in a difficult position here. It looks like mate. I see forcing moves, Maurice, but I don't see the easy forcing move. What do we do here?
Well, there are a number of checks, all of them with the queen only. The bishop on c8 would love to get into the act to be able to play bishop d7 and finish black off. And I think that that's the general direction. This solution here might actually be just castles. The point, because you think you want to attack the king with the forcing moves like queen b5 check, king a3, and then queen a5 check, king b3, and then bishop e6 check is a killer, right? I mean, that just looks devastating. Except you can't play bishop e6 check because you're pinned. Your c8 bishop cannot move. And that's the only annoyance factor. By the way, another annoyance factor is rook to e1 with check. You've got to be aware of your opponent's forcing moves as well. So she's hesitating here because she wants to play just the direct forcing lines, but the queen looks like it's dancing and prancing out of the way. So now she's divining the idea of castles because it seems to me that that's going to really put the king in a box. Like, how do you stop? Now, by the way, castles would win the chess game in general. Yeah, just you feel it. You feel it. But is it the best way right this second? That's a very big question. There's another interesting move. No, bishop d8 doesn't threaten any mate, although it does release your c8 bishop to be able to enter the game as well. So that's an idea. But I'm really curious as to why castles doesn't just get the job done. Because you do have to unpin. I mean, you do have, you're not just going to mate with the queen. That's the big problem. And your bishop on f6 gets into the act a little bit too late. So what else can you do but castles? I'm not even sure you have another move. Is it possible that you have another move?
Good question. They're going to castle, it seems.
She's scared to castle, but
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. That was the right way to continue the attack. But now she has to be a little bit careful. This check should get the job done. Yeah, because she had a bishop a4 check at the very end. So that was the key there, to get your king to safety so your bishop could become activated.
Absolutely. And it feels so good. I know I get a lot of dopamine when you solve a really, really tough puzzle. And it's not only because you're lucky, because you calculated all the way to the end. I think that's a very rewarding feeling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we play chess. It's for that high of beating the other player with your smarts, figuring things out. And puzzles are no exception to that. You absolutely want to get that good feeling of being smart, or at least feeling like you're smart one day. We know the next day we're just going to blunder and feel stupid. So, hey, got to feel good about what you're doing when you're playing. Now, this position, the attack looks absolutely crushing. Now, here's the problem. The problem is that white would like to promote and get a queen. But your attack should win the game. I don't understand why queen takes f5 doesn't just get the job done. The forcing moves look possible, but I think they're being distracted. Because if you take on f5 right now with the queen, you threaten queen d3 monster check and just dominate the light squares after that. Queen d3, rook f, queen d3 check. So queen takes, and then queen to d3 with check after the pawn promotes. And then king c1 is forced because king e1 is rook f1 mate. And then after king c1, I can play rook to f1, then rook to b1, then queen to b3 mate. Doesn't that just win?
It should.
She's spotting it right now. That, yeah, there it is. And she just designed it all. That wins clearly. There may be another way to do it. Ah, okay. So setting it, but this allows a queen trade with check on f2 at minimum. Sometimes these puzzles trick you because there might be a mating attack. But here, it looks like you can just trade off your queens easily and then just put your rook behind, and then that was all.
Perfect. There you go.
She's definitely getting the job done. They are getting the job done in this one. So good kudos to them for figuring out the things you need to do there.
Absolutely. They're on a roll. We have more streamers. We're going to try to show as much as possible, everyone. So we're going to move forward to the next one. These are Cutie Cinderella and Anna Rudolph. Now, I think Anna Rudolph is well known within the chess community. She's been a commentator, player, extremely wholesome person, if I may say so myself. Anna's amazing. And Cutie Cinderella, who is actually a variety streamer on Twitch. She has been dabbling into the chess scene. She's been playing in PogChamps 2, if I believe. Don't slap me on this, chess. I think I got that right. And they're teaming up together now. And they're on 31 right now. Cutie is about 800 at the moment. So I feel like Anna is also taking the role of tutor, showing her the ropes a little bit. So these are interesting puzzles. 32 is about 1800 puzzles. How do you feel about this one, Royce?
Well, relatively simple, these puzzles. Now this check, testing what you're going to do next. Where do you put your king? You have two choices, but it looks as though neither one, the one king e7 was just simply safe. Now see, it's a puzzle like this. Remember I talked about the forcing moves, and it's the promotion of the pawn in this case. Right? When we talked about the 5 categories of forcing moves, it was the promotion of the pawn. Sometimes you look for a forcing move. Now here, the white king is seemingly even safer than the black king. But in fact, white is not threatening black at all here. Like just 0 threats to black. Maybe a check or two, but the black king is in no danger at all. So now we're going to look for our checks, which also simultaneously in this position looks like a capture. Rook takes on G2, just screams to be played, followed by D4 and unleashing the beast of the bishop along the B7, the A8 to H1 diagonal, and then your queen somehow coming in and getting the job done after that. That seems like it just has to be the right way to play. You get 2 pieces ganging up on a king that's been stripped of all its defenders. Should get the job done. You definitely don't want to play the move order incorrectly. You play D4 first, and then it's white's turn to move, and you hang your bishop on B7. And frankly, I don't see another check. It's the only check that makes sense. Queen G1 check is completely ridiculous. So what else could you possibly be thinking about here if you're going to try to win this game? I would even argue that last move, Rook H4 by white, was definitely a blunder of some kind, because clearly black, it's given black this attacking opportunity. So Anna is probably explaining to her right now that you got pieces, you want to use them, you want to attack, and yeah, sacrificing the queen at the end there is a loss.
And there we go. They're getting forward. 35 is a really good score. And another duo that we have over here is Anna Kremling with Velcrodot. Anna Kremling, also the daughter of Pia Kremling, grandmaster from Sweden. And Velcrodot, I don't know too much about her. She's a new streamer in the program, and she's doing good. She's been hitting the streets of Twitch, as they could say so. And they're having a realistic position with a queen on G7, which always scares me. How do you feel about this one?
Well, the queen on G7 might scare you, but sometimes you also think delish, because the queen shouldn't be taking poison pawns in the position. And you, with your knight on G6 guarding your rook, you're perfectly safe in that. On that score, are there any checks that white has? I don't see any. So that means that it's all about me. Like once I see that I'm safe for the moment, it's all about me. And then I'm going to go back to where are the tactical elements that I should be focused on? Do I have any checks? Well, I could take on F2. Where will that lead? I don't see any juice over there. But my instincts have already told me that that queen on G7 deserves to be punished. Like, I'm not afraid of it. I want it. Like, please give it to me. So bishop D4 is the first move to attack the queen that comes to mind. But unfortunately, the queen can run to H6. And that I don't like. I attack you, you run. I don't play chess like that. I don't want to see that happen. So if I attack you, you can run to h6. Do I have another way to attack you? It turns out I have bishop back to f8. Counterintuitive, but I love retreating moves. I love it when you can go backwards and win. Retreat to win. That's just one of the juiciest ways you win in chess. When you back it up and win anyway, your opponent just is in shock that you got that kind of skill set. So I think here it's clear, bishop back to f8, and now the queen no longer has h6 to run to. That's going to be all she wrote. Fat lady is singing on bishop f8. Queen is trapped, being greedy, entering black's position.
Maurice, have you ever had in a game, so here's over the board or online, doesn't matter. Have you ever had a game where you could take a knight, for example, two ways? But you felt like if I do it this way, it has a more like psychological impact on my opponent because it makes it a little bit more difficult than if I did it the other way, even if it's like the same engine evaluation. Do you know where I'm getting at?
Yeah, I would say everything is situational, and there's a risk factor as well. So if you're gonna sharpen the game, then it takes it in a completely different direction if that's what you want to do, or the other move might be more solid. So you have to evaluate it very carefully on a case-by-case basis. And optional moves, I mean, they're important. I remember I had a choice between two what looked to be good moves in a game I had against the Grandmaster Michael Betzold of Germany. If I had won that game, I would have gotten my final GM norm, and I had a choice of two moves, and I played the greedy one and got punished. And the one I was supposed to play was the riskier one that didn't get material, but kept all the attacking possibilities in the position. And it wasn't that I was winning. I would have been clearly better, but there was a rook sitting on the board, an exchange. And I was sitting just debating, and finally I took the exchange and losing my dark square bishop. The viewers can look up that game when I took on c1, and man, I just got punished giving up my bishop. Probably was still okay if I remember correctly, but the game just took a totally different direction. He had the initiative. So you always have to think about your options and weigh how you feel about how the game will go.
Absolutely. That's a good point. Don't get too greedy, chat. I've been there as well. Sometimes when I play against a weaker player and they have a perpetual, I just run out of it. Even though it's like slightly less better for me, I still I could do better, I'm a better chess player. I could do this and I lose anyway. So, I mean, yeah. I never lose, so it doesn't happen.
We've all been in that situation before.
Let's really quickly jump over to Anamaya and Nicer, who has a cutout of Garry Kasparov, it seems, next to her for good luck.
Inspiration.
An interesting position here, where it seems like they're trying to mate.
Again, I'm looking at my position first. You're busy looking at them trying to mate. I see queen takes h7 is mate for white. I always think about my opponents first. So if you're going to mate me and I have a puzzle in front of me, unless the puzzle is to just defend, by the way, I'm also down a pawn. So all sorts of assets for white, but the biggest deficit is that king sitting on d3. In fact, I don't see any other deficit for white as you look at this position. That king sitting on d3 was the problem. They did find a way to not only check the king, but play f4 and defend the h7 mate. You notice you had to pay attention to the mate. If you were just trying to win the game only, you would not have solved it. But by playing f4, they were able to guard the h7 mate and continue with a rolling attack, which, by the way, it wasn't specific exactly how black was going to win the game after that it was necessary for white to actually give up a rook on h7. But the puzzle gods see more.
Gave him some love, absolutely. All right, chat. We're always at the end of the first hour, which means that the prizes will get not necessarily immediately distributed. We're going to go on a quick break. We're going to listen in to Hikaru and Levi right now, who are on 63 at the moment, which are 4,000 rated puzzles. Let's go a quick listen in.
Wow.
And we'll be right back in a few minutes. See if we can show a score. Chat, don't go anywhere.
You cannot sack the queen, right? So
What can it be? Queen a5? No, queen a5, queen a3, right?
Just tweeted out a very epic image of us solving puzzles
queen
together.
Queen a5, queen a3, ab3, queen a5, rook b3 takes. No. So queen a5, queen a3 cannot be right. Because then after queen a5, queen a3, you're always pinned, right? So it leads to some forced endgame. I mean, the move that, you know, Levy, what I honestly think it is something really weird, like ab3, cb3, queen b3 takes rook b3, but then there's king a2. I don't know, what can it be? Huh.
Oh, and if you drop the back, there's queen a3.
Right. And like ab3, cb3, queen a5, bishop c2, rook a6 maybe, but even queen a5, queen c2 doesn't seem right.
Wait, what was wrong with the idea that you just said? A, B, C, B?
Queen a5, I think white just goes queen c2.
What about A, B, C, B, bishop a4? King a1?
Bishop c2 maybe after bishop a4?
Yeah, this is like a position we just shred it. Shred everything. Queen a5 first? No, then queen a3. Queen c5? Some queen move back and then somehow...
Yeah, queen c5 is actually what I was wondering about. But do you have a forced mate like queen c5? Like, what if on queen c5 I do something ridiculous like rook e2? Where's your win? A, B, C, B takes king a1 and you have nothing.
Is there any merit to playing A, B, C, B, and C2?
Just bishop takes C2?
And then you have like the C file? No, just there's nothing there.
No, I think you just resign.
So if it's gonna be something with will there be a king B7 involved? Some rook A8?
I mean, only if there's an AB3, but I don't think there's AB3 here.
Oh god.
Yeah, these puzzles are very taxing. It's not easy. Okay, let's do the process of elimination here. There's AB3, there's queen A5, there's queen C5, there's queen E7. Queen E7 looks stupid, right? Just white can even just go. Yeah, queen E7. I mean, basically on queen E7 and queen C5, rook E2 is the problem, isn't it? Because you have no checkmates. Once you take and I take, the rook is always swinging over on the second rank.
Mm-hmm. What's the problem here? Is it the bishop? The bishop is the problem?
The bishop on D... What do you mean, the problem in this position?
It's the bishop on D3, right? Doesn't it hold everything together?
Yeah. I mean, AB3, CB3, queen A5 seems right, but after queen C2, is it just bishop A4 and you win? I mean, that seems like the only option, doesn't it? Let's see. So AB3, CB3, queen A5, right? You threaten rook B3 and queen A2 mate. So takes this queen.
Looks right. For sure, rook H2.
Could also be GF.
GF rook takes and you have nothing though.
Excuse me.
I think it's G2.
Okay. But... Sure. I agree. Should we restart? We missed out on the first hour.
I don't even know.
I drew today. So far. I have 3.5 out of 4. I kind of feel like restarting.
Do you want to restart?
Yeah, just, that's fine. This one we missed out on the first hour. You can just quit, honestly.
Yeah, just take him. Okay. There's D5.
Yeah.
No, I don't even know.
Yeah, we should be... Okay. That's fine. 1 hour gone, but... Hopefully I don't miss too much time playing my game, though. That's the tough part. Yeah. Knight G3. Alright, restart.
Oh my goodness.
It's fine. Good luck on Princeton.
What just happened?
Hello, Super Tiago. Rook 8, or Rook H1.
What?
Oh, it's yeah. You're black to move. Rook h1. Black,
H1.
black, black.
Oh, okay. What?
That is mate. Take it.
That is mate in one. I did not see the bishop.
Check. King b3 then. Yeah, king b3. Yes, then like this probably. Rook d4.
Okay, so we go check first.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why.
I think
yes,
it is.
Yes,
yeah, because then if they check you.
Mm-hmm. If we play b2 immediately, then rook c7 check, king b3, rook b7 check, and take on b2.
Yes.
And white might even win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And yes, I think that's the way. Just then, after rook d4, king f3, b2, rook b7, rook d3, king e2, rook b3, rook c7. Oh, two we went there. Yeah, we play king d5 and king e5. Yeah. Okay, so rook d4, right?
Yes.
And then b2. Yes, that's what it said. Yeah. And then king b3.
King b3 to block. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Okay, number 55.
Best Puzzle Rush survival score was 58 for me. Like Dirk G. So I managed to get to 58 once.
Yeah, I think I was telling you about the time we took 7 hours to do it. And I think we got to 58 after 7 hours.
Well. 7 hours. Well, we're doing better than that for the moment.
We are definitely
doing better than that, but we're at 54. And
we do still, have 4 more.
Okay.
4 more to go. Maybe that'll take us 5 hours.
I doubt it.
So
I think we either, make a mistake and we'll go to the next one. Well, let's play GF check. King G2. And then rook g3 probably.
Rook g3, king takes, and there's a queen e3.
Well, then I don't know what will happen, what's gonna happen after king h4.
True.
But I can... Yes, probably not king e3, but queen e5.
Queen e5.
Oh wait, because I'm looking at like queen g4 and like take g7.
I was just going to highlight that. I think that might be right. You can't take here because the pawn's pinned. If you take b5, I mean, there's knight f6 at least wins the queen.
It wins the queen, and it's forking the rook and the bishop.
Yeah, and if check king e8 takes g7, like let's say an obvious move like rook f8 to defend, and then it's rook e5 and we mate.
Do we?
Rook e5 takes,
bishop
queen
takes?
I think so. Oh, never mind. He's on king f7. He gets out. My bad.
So queen g4, king e8, queen takes g7, rook f8 is clearly the issue. And I can't solve it. I definitely can't solve that.
Indeed. Aha, okay. New idea? No. No. I was going to say queen g4, king e8, queen h5, if g6, then rook e5. But even if he just takes and puts the king on f7.
Queen h5, you should just calculate king f8, because that looks like the hardest to deal with.
Yeah, and then we're just out of checks.
Or queen f3 back, but that's obviously not it. Queen f7, just to calculate a different move. Bishop e7. Rook takes e5. Looks overwhelming.
And if rook e8, queen f5, or queen...
And we are back, everyone. The first hour is already over. And can you guess what the top streamer got, Maurice?
Well, I already know, so...
Setting you up for greatness. Hikaru Nakamura.
Yeah, I was going to fake it with the audience.
Listen, man, I'm still a newbie. We're working through. Hikaru Nakamura and Levi Rossman, 63. So they went in for the first hour. They got that one. Daniel Rensch, Amon Hamilton got 61. Andrew Tang and Agent Joel got the 60, which is also very high. And then we have the rest of the pack. So Hikaru Nakamura and Levi made that one. And I'm not sure. I'm actually going to check her out. Yeah, so this is an interesting fact. They can keep going, trying to get the best overall score. So the prizes, ladies and gentlemen, let me flash this one up real quick. Prizes are, they already got best in first hours. That's $500 in the pocket. And what they can do is, okay, I'm going to stop at the top of the hour. We're going to reset. We're going to redo the puzzle rush, survival rush. Or they're going to try to go for best overall score. And they're going to try to keep climbing that score right now. They're doing that right now, Maurice. They are on 66 at the moment. And Levy's missing.
I think Hikaru can handle business by himself. If Levy needs a bathroom break, that's not a problem. But at the moment, yes, it makes a lot of sense to get the best overall score in your pocket, and then you can hand whatever you like to the other person. And if people want to do the best in the second hour or the third hour, that's fine. They can come back for best in third hour, but best overall is $1,000. Yeah, so get that and show that you can make that run. And I think that they can add up as much as they want as it goes along. They'll be able to whip out tons of puzzles in the beginning without any difficulty. This one definitely looks a little bit fascinating. The rook on f8 is hanging with check. Rook h8 check doesn't lead anywhere because of king takes, and bishop h6 check also leading nowhere. And we see Levy coming back. So Hikaru is really eyeing this capture on d3, which seems to make total sense. And after the queening, now the issue is just, looks like your b2 pawn is super powerful. But by the way, you're down heavy material right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have to get this done directly, but I don't see, there's a bishop that can draw back to c1. So this is where he's stuck. If queen check, king c2, queen takes b2 check, the natural looking king d1, queen b1 check is met by bishop back to c1, and you run out of checks. So it's better to keep the rook in the attack, and that was the genius part there. Noticing that the direct line did not work, the forcing moves led nowhere, he decided, no, I need to keep the attack alive, and he found rook c8. Very nicely done.
Can I ask you a question, Maurice, real quick? Absolutely. How far would you take the entire second full hour to get the highest score possible? Or would you say, if we get 75, I think that will be enough. Let's try to also get the second hour highest score. Like, where is the mark? What would you do?
Well, you do have other very strong players who are playing along as well.
Right.
And it's possible that if you quit now, you did have the score of 63, but wasn't second place 61?
Correct.
So if you quit now, you bail and start going for best in second hour, somebody else could overtake you and say, let's keep going ourselves. Right. So it's kind of like Jeopardy, in Jeopardy, where you're like, well, if I bet more money, then if I lose that money, then the person who's in second might come and overtake me with their bet. And I think that here, the bet could be, if I'm in second place, if Hikaru and Levy, I don't know if they're following each other's scores, but if Hikaru and Levy bail, why don't we just go after the best overall score? Put up a number that they're not going to bother to try to reach, since obviously they're bailing and going for the best hourly scores, right? So yeah, I think that they're gonna just get as much as they can as they keep this up, keep a streak going, and then they'll come back to business and start putting up big numbers again.
Absolutely. I think they're going to go for, I don't know, they might take the entire full hour, or at least they make a decision like between now and 15 minutes. I mean, if you're going to start with a 30-minute step back, I think it's going to be a little bit rough, but they're going really good. 69, almost.
Well, also recognize these guys have egos. Somebody like Hikaru, he's got nothing to prove, and yet he plays like he has everything to prove. I mean, that's just professional ego at the highest level. And while they're having a good time, laughing, yucking it up, they want to put up a number that says, pride-wise, yeah, we are the best. Let's be clear. We are the best. And so that's what they'll be thinking about, definitely from an ego standpoint, as well as from a strategy standpoint. This one is a tiny bit tricky because white is threatening to play rook takes on e5 at some point and then play f6 and then just have an unstoppable sequence. But you feel like black must have a mate against the white king if you can play a rook to a8, a knight on c3, and the king somewhere, and then king on c4. That would actually be mate. So they're counting out the moves now. Knight c3 allows attacking the rook on e4, allows rook takes e5 and f6. Then you wonder if your e5 is playable, but if c4 is playable, but e5 will be hanging with check as well. So the question is move order right now. What is the right move order here? Maybe rook a8 first. If you play rook a8, then the sacrifice happens.
Is there going to be a mate? I'm wondering that more and more and more.
Well, the thing about it is white, without rook takes on e5, white's attack can only happen with g7, rook f7, and rook f8. That takes forever. So it does feel as though it is incumbent on black to find what it is that needs to be done here in order to win the game. Now they're looking at c4 immediately, which allows this. And now here, this king, the ability to take, and there's no mate because of rook to a8. This was really important. So yeah, king takes on a4 was not possible. Now the issue is, how do you exactly mate? I was thinking the idea was just rook a8 winning. It didn't seem like there should be a problem. Rook a8, rook c7, though, has to be thought about. Check, and then you don't. Ooh, yeah, so rook c7 is the problem. Rook c7 is a big problem. And they're pointing it out there. Rook a8, rook c7 disrupts your flow because knight c5, the king drops back, and you might have an attack, or you might not. I mean, not an attack. You might have a way of queening your pawn, but it don't look like it's quite mate yet. And all right, just gave it to them after rook a8. Wow.
It was the correct one then. Yeah, they said, oh, knight c5 and I can push e6.
It looks like you had work. They had work ahead, and they decided to play it. And again, the puzzle gods did them the favor of saying, you know what, you found this much, we'll give it to you. They're
too forgiving. Too forgiving.
Yeah, it's a little too generous as far as I'm concerned. Because there you still had stuff to work out, precision to show, but they showed that they could get that far accurately, which is good for them.
Absolutely. All right, they are on a good streak, 69, which is nice, chat. I know chat is watching. A nice number, chat. I know you guys. Move on to WGN Dina Belenkaya and WFN Lil Koritze. I think she's from Georgia. They're both streamers, up and coming, doing really well. Teaming together, they're still having the snowfall. A little bit of Christmas mood in their
a lot of Christmas.
Thing. Merry Christmas, absolutely. Oh, Dina turned 27 not 2 weeks ago, I believe. So she's also still fresh on the birthday rhythms. I see some Christmas trees in it, and I see chaos on the board. What's going on here, Maurice?
Well, white has to worry about two threats. There's a threat to the knight on e4, and also the idea of playing e2 for black is coming as well. So if I'm white, I'm concerned about both those ideas. But I also see that we have a forcing move, or at least a couple of forcing moves. Knight g5, and also the move of rook to d7 check. And just as we said that, Dina has bailed for the moment. And Christmas lights are going off as well. I mean, there's some wildness going on right now. But at any rate, let's take a look at this puzzle. The threat is absolutely problematic to play. White has two things under attack. If I was in pure defensive mode, I'd play knight c5. put the knight in the way of the queen.
Exactly.
And that would be that. All right. I'd feel safe. Because well, I wouldn't feel ultimately safe. I'd feel like that at least solves one big problem that I have if I'm going to be about solving the problem that I have, because the knight on c5 blocks the diagonal. But I feel like black would start generating something. So let's look at attacking moves. The problem with the main attacking move, that is rook to d7, is this king can go to h6 and try to hide. But is it really hiding? Can the queen find a way onto the long diagonal? We do have to worry about e2 check. So queen c3 looks like it could be an attacking move. e2 check, we do have king to g2, and the queening gets you mated. So yeah, rook d7, king h6 is forced, because if you go backwards, you're going to face a horrible queen check. And then but then the question becomes where to put the queen, c3 or b2, because the puzzle gods, they may be forgiving at the end of puzzles, but they're not forgiving at the beginning. Like, you better play accurate moves when you're attacking, or else you will fail. So in this situation, is the correct idea to lift the queen to c3 or b2, or is there another forcing idea? I don't see any checks after this, so it's not a check. So threat to checkmate is the next thing that I analyze in sequence. Captures are not possible. Promotions are not possible. Threat to win material not possible. So our only hope after this check is got to be a checkmate concept. Now, is it c3 or is it b2 is the question. And what's the difference? The difference with c3 that I like is that c3 keeps an eye on the e3 square. So how does that help me?
They're thinking about, they're thinking queen c3 and knight f6 afterwards. I think who's controlling the board? This is interesting. I mean, Dylan was getting some coffee, it seems, and Leland was controlling the board. So
you stay alert. You got to stay alert when you're doing these puzzles. So coffee's not a bad idea. In fact, you should have that boiling hot thermos next to you. Well, the thermos itself shouldn't be hot, but the coffee should be in a nice thermos, staying warm, so you don't have to make those coffee runs and lose time. But that's a different strategy for another day. Maybe she'll hear about that one from one of her friends later. But at the moment, I think rook d7, queen c3, the minus to queen c3 could be that, no, there's not a check on e1 that you have to worry about. Okay, so yeah, the attack with rook d7, queen c3, I'm still debating the merits of queen c3, queen b2. Yeah. I would instinctively want to play queen c3. So queen c3, and then knight f6 does look like a very strong attacking idea. e2 check can be answered by king g2, and if you promote to a knight, then you can play king to h1, and all that funny business is ended. If you promote to a queen, then you're going to get mated with rook h7. So
I think they're going to go for it. I feel like this is the moment where we're going to shine. Stop drawing arrows.
Rook h7 and f4 comes at the end. So yeah, I think that it looks like a mating attack. Feels like a mating attack. They should go for it. I think they're a little scared. How many have they gotten wrong? Oh, they've gotten 2 wrong. That's important, right?
Yeah. It's the mental is weak, as you could say. The mental is weak because you got 2 wrong already. Oh, don't you see that?
The pump fake kicking in. I cannot imagine another move other than this check. What else could you play? Knight g5 check is the other move. King h6, and then what? There seems to be no follow-up. Knight f7 being the only check. Not that the knight is necessarily hanging, but what else could you possibly do?
Do it.
I mean, they should just do it. Come on. Just make the move. Get it wrong. Look at her. She's scared.
She's putting her hand in front of her eyes. You see that?
It's got to be the only move. Come on now. Now, this is where they should be scared, because queen c3 or queen b2, there's the debate. That's it. Like, this is where I'd be worried, because which one is it? Is it queen c3 or is it queen to b2?
Oh, I love that. Put your hand in front of your eyes. I mean, that's how I go through live chats. Just put your hand in front of your eyes and hope for the best. We're going to leave them here because we have a lot of others. But This is an interesting position. We all go for queen c3.
You know, by the way, I just want to point out queen c3, rook g7, knight f6, allowing e2 check, king g2 best, does allow the surprising queen takes f6 by black. And then when you take that queen on f6, right, queen takes knight. So the point, so we go through this slowly. Queen c3, threatening queen g7 mate. Looks like rook g8 is pretty much forced. Well, you could play your e2 check now as well. So you could play e2 check first and king g2 will happen. And now you play rook g8, knight f6, threatening rook h7 and devastation in the follow-up. But queen takes on f6 is possible. Queen takes, and after queen takes, then you get your second queen and you say to white, where's the beef? Where's the mate?
Correct.
Right? And maybe there's a mate, but there is certainly a bunch of checks that black queen is going to do to that white king, that new queen that gets on the board. So I don't think it's that self-evident, even though it looks like a good line. And I feel like the puzzle gods will do them the favor of giving them the position if they get it.
We're going to see. We're going to move on. But there's one thing I want to point out real quick. Just a funny line. Let's say knight f6. Hope chess. You know, we're going to play knight f6. It doesn't matter. You can go e2 check. Yeah, right now. Just, you know, have an open mind, Maurice. Have an open mind. Knight f6.
Oh, I see where you're going.
e2 check. King g2. And you know what I'm going to do?
You're going to ask for a knight.
I'm going to ask for a knight under promotion on e1, attacking the queen and the king. Obviously, you'll never play knight f6, but, you know, you got to stay vigilant of those kind of tactics. Who are also very vigilant of tactics are the powerhouse chess queen grandmaster Alexandra Koseniuk and WCM Rebecca Selkirk.
Former world champion, get it straight.
I'm sorry.
World champion.
You guys can see it, but I'm bowing. I do respect strong chess players, also weak chess players, but especially former world champions. Rebecca Selkirk isn't really a world champion just yet. She's a player from South Africa, played for the Olympiad for South Africa successfully. She had some very good games as well. And they've been teaming up right now on puzzle number 32. They're back on the top of the hour. And I feel like there's some finicky things going on D7 and F2.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're getting out of there. So you're saying they restarted, right? They restarted at the top of the hour? Oh, was that 56 their score from before?
They had their last score was 54, the highest on the first hour. And then they said, okay, at the hour is over, we're going to redo it. And now they're on 33. Oh, no, the 56 is the number of Twitch viewers that they have. It's 33 that they have right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Too many numbers.
Gotcha. All right. It looked very close to a score. So
no, you're right. You're right. I was like, did he remember the score? That's amazing, Maurice. How did you know it was? Oh, okay. That's never mind.
Yes, I didn't remember anything. I just was curious. Now, so they've restarted. They're at 33. This position, is their screen for some reason smaller than other people's screens, by the way?
They made the board a lot smaller for room for others. You're correct. So it's a bit more difficult to see.
I see. I was wondering if it was just me flaking out. Okay, this puzzle, they're going through, for someone like Kosteniuk, this is the easy stuff. This is the cream puff stuff at this point. And so we're looking at a puzzle where white is down a piece, but okay, white's down a piece at the moment, but can start just grabbing food. Pawns, just buttons are going to fall off the board very quickly. The first pawn dropped on d5, and now the e4 pawn or the h5 pawn could be taken. But f5 is coming with tempo. I get the feeling, though, that there's got to be something juicy. I like taking bishop takes e4. I'm very curious as to how you're going to defend that position.
Correct. I mean,
everything is dropping with check after bishop takes e4. f5, it loses. Well, it doesn't lose, but allows queen g6 check after you push your f5 pawn. the g6 square becomes weak. You can play queen g6 check, and then you can take on h5 with check. And I mean, that's already 4 pawns for the piece. Hard to imagine that's not good.
Absolutely. I think they're contemplating
taking on h5 check, followed by taking on e4 is not good as well. I mean, the question is which one you do first. I think I would go for bishop takes on e4 with check personally. Yeah. Okay.
You got some former world champion in you, Maurice. I can see that. Also going for bishop e4. Alexandra does know the ways. Absolute beast.
Absolutely. No question about it. And you don't become a former women's world champion, without seeing tactics. And
absolutely, without knowing. Oh, this is actually, I wanted to switch, but let's jump into the pawn endgames. How do you assess these pawn endgames? Because they're always really difficult.
Well, there's so many interesting techniques in pawn endings. Fortunately, a lot of them don't come up. The basic ones are the ones that usually come up. If you look at the theory of corresponding squares, for example, all the nuances with opposition and distance opposition, I mean, it can be a nightmare. This one was very easy. You just get a pass pawn, push it down the board.
You start running.
But any end, I love pawn endings, by the way, love them. In any book you can get that shows you the nuances, the sophisticated nuances of pawn endings, get it, read it, look at it, because it will pay off. Pawn endings are, without question, the most important endings in chess, without any question. You might say it's rook and pawn. They're important as well, but the fact is you might trade off your rooks. So pawn endings are actually the foundation of all the other endgames. So you've got to know them inside out. It pays to know them inside out, because then when you start doing all the other endings, and yes, rook endings are incredibly important, but when you start playing the other endings, don't liquidate, because I will kill you in king and pawn endings. And there's so many players I've done that too, who were decent at endgames, but not at king and pawn endings. They weren't high level, and you're able to just spank them because they don't know all those subtle nuances when you get to those kind of trades.
That's good to know. I love that, man. I need to work on my pawn endgames now. You're a good motivational speaker.
If you're going to play me, if you're going to get hustled, you better check your pawn endings, because I'm just driving you right into them.
That's a good one. Are you going to make another video? You made like one of those hustler videos. Are you going to visit some new parks?
I didn't make the puzzle video. It wasn't my video. It was actually
that's true.
Video. And that video, now it's been seen like 7.6 million times last I checked. The video was a great video, trash talking video. For those who haven't seen it, just Google Maurice Ashley trash talk. But I didn't make it. It was a TV crew that happened to invite me down, and then they told the hustler, they asked him, would you mind playing this guy over here? He didn't know that it was me. And movie magic happened from there. I would love to create more videos like that, but I got to say, we got to come up with the right ideas to make it work, because lightning somehow, we got it in a bottle one time. Can we do it again? I don't know. It might just suck the next time.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think that's the case, but we will see. We're going to let Chess Queen and Rebecca go, and it's going to time for...
You can't put a puzzle in front of us and not let us see what the solution is at least. Could we just bounce back to that momentarily? Thank you.
Very cool.
So what's the problem here? G4 looks like it's a mating attack. We're down a piece. We're in trouble. G4, though, rook G3 check is playable. King H2 or F2. And then the rook takes our pawn. And what did we do? Oh, and then rook F6 check and rook H7 is mate. That's it. G4 looks like it should get the job done. Come on.
Come on, Rebecca.
I believe Alexandra hasn't found this already. Or maybe she's challenging Rebecca, who might be a slightly weaker player, to find a solution. You could also try to drive the king immediately with rook F6 and rook H7.
Correct.
But
before seemed more natural.
I don't see the finish line. Check, takes. Rook F6, then king H5, rook takes H7, king G4. And man, the mate looks, and then rook back to G7 with check, king has to go back to h5.
Yep.
Even that looks very attractive. g3 is playable, threatening rook g5, but then rook e5.
Wow, I don't see anything that black can do after g4. That's just like very... It seems natural. I mean, that's also a trap in puzzles. It does seem natural, and that's why it's wrong.
Yeah, g4, rook e6. Actually, what do you do after rook e6?
Oh, that's a good point. Not just... No, that's a good point. So g4, g3, or rook 5.
I mean, you always want to study the forcing lines first, right? So you got an h5 hit, you got a rook from 5 to f6 because we don't want the king to run to g7. And so the most forcing line is going to be rook 5 to f6 to start. g4 comes without a threat. It comes with a threat to checkmate. So it's a secondary kind of idea. But rook e6 does stop the mate. Rook check doesn't work, taking on g4, but rook e6, and now you need to figure out how to continue your attack, and I don't actually see any way to continue the attack. So g4 looks like it fails to rook e6. It seems as though you do have to continue very directly with rook from 5 to f6 with check. Then the king moves. Then you can take on h7. Then the king goes to g4. Then logic says rook g7, although there are other checks. The king is running to the f file if you do that. So rook g7 check, the king goes back to h5, and now you get a waiting move. And I think that g3 looks like a killer. g3, rook to e5. Huh, that's not over.
I am baffled, good sir.
Yeah, I knew this was a tricky one. They're baffled as well. I thought this was easy, but it turns out that this one is slightly annoying. Do you start with G? No, because rook. So black's main move to stop you is rook to f6, rook to e6.
Correct.
To stop your rook f6 idea. That's black's main move. So what that means is we can't allow that move to happen because we don't have a mating construction otherwise. Or do we? I don't see.
The one that I see. I'm trying maybe rook 5, f6.
Oh, no, I see it. Oh, no, I'm wrong. I don't see it. Good. Okay, because I thought it was too easy. All right. So, yeah, everything else takes too long. I'm thinking about a king march up the board.
Yeah.
Later, but that doesn't work.
A rook g7 intermezzo, but that also doesn't work.
Sorry, what did you say?
Like a rook f to f5 to f6, king h5, rook g7, trying to trap the king to the side and then try to go for a checkmate. Like rook g5, rook f6 afterwards, but I think that's also too slow.
Well, it may not be too slow, but the construction seems weird. And that knight wants to enter the game with effect. That's my biggest worry as well.
Right.
This is a good puzzle. This is definitely a good puzzle. I want to remember this one.
Would you say that you are puzzled right now?
I like your punning.
It's my new resolutions. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, I really hope. Okay, we're gonna stay on this.
Right? There's got to be something that we're proud of. Something, and I'm glad you're proud of your puns.
Listen, man, it's something I have in life. All right, I'll cling on to it. We're actually gonna have.
I just don't see the solution. I'm a bit befuddled myself.
Let's jump in and listen to what they have to say.
To make this move, you make this move, and the puzzle just stops. And
yes,
come on, I didn't really.
It's terrible.
I didn't really figure out the way to proceed. I spent hours trying to understand what will happen. Yeah, I think I managed. So
did you get it?
Yeah, I think so. So rook 5 to f6, king h5, rook h7, king g4, rook g7, king h5. Then I play g4, king takes h4, and I play king f2, threatening the rook on h3 and checkmate on h6.
Okay.
Well, I think we need to get going anyway. So
Yes,
what did I say?
That seems like a good
I said
solution.
rook 5 to h6,
Rook
right?
5 to f, yeah. And then king goes and then take.
All right, chat. They were repeating the line that Maurice mentioned earlier with the checks, taking on h5. And it seemed to be the case.
Yeah, but we didn't get to see the finish. Again, the generous chess gods giving them a break and not letting us see the finish. Yeah, you know, it's like you eat the food, but there's no dessert. That's how my feeling is. So I had to say, too kind. They were struggling in the end, but they were on the right path. That's all we can say.
Absolutely. They went on the right path. They did really well. I actually really want to have a quick look. Actually, let's look into the streamers real quick, chat. Let's look into Danny Range and Amon Hamilton. Now on 43. Let's see how high they get.
Here, check. They're too far. What the hell is the move here? I should know this.
Rook D1, and then if they check king E3, we block with the rook. And otherwise, we have rook G1 if the king encroaches.
Rook D1, check, up, check, we can block.
And then if we block and they go like rook A2, for example, then we go rook D2, sorry. So rook A1.
So rook D1's the move.
Well, I'm just wondering, check, king E3. First of all, if king G3 there, we give a check. The king goes back to H2. What happens?
We play F2.
Okay. So can't move the king. If he checks us, rook D3. If he goes to rook A1 after rook D3, then king.
No. The key is rook D1, check, king up, check. You go to E2 first. Then when they check, you block on the second rank. No, but then,
and then they go to A1.
Okay, hold on. So rook D1, check, king up, check, rook D3 down. If F2, king G2.
That's not it.
That can't be it.
So we'll go king E2 after rook A1. And then if king G3, that's where I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's like a draw because of F2.
Dude, this is such an annoying puzzle to get. A rook end game is just like
super, especially
super
because
annoying.
It's clearly one of those, you know, like John Nunn spouts out in a rook ending book. Oh, and then you obviously can't put the rook on A8 in this position because it's like a forced win in 11 moves. It's like, oh, thanks. Like,
is it just king F1 and F2? Why is that not it?
King F1.
Let's say, because there's nothing meaningful he can do. King F1, F2, if it's the same position in our turn, we go rook E7. He checks us, king E2. He checks us, king F3. And we're just queening.
Yeah, so king F1, if king G3, F...
There's no way it's all these fancy things. Just like, I don't know. This is a very annoying problem. I think it's like king F1, F2, and we're going to have checks on our side.
Right, because if king F1, king G3, F2... Any rook A2, there's rook E3 check. Any rook behind it, there's rook E3 check. Okay, it's king F1. Okay, you're right. There's no way it was all these fancy schmees.
Yeah, it's just forget it. Forget all that. Forget all that.
All right, if queen G3, king H1, bishop F2, we're threatening queen H3, maybe. Also, obviously, knight G4 is a move to consider.
Knight G4, knight E4, and then bishop takes F2, knight F2, queen G3 is mate. And if not, then knight G4 and we have bishop F2 mate. So if he goes rook E2.
But then we check and he goes to F1. Knight G4.
Rook E2, we go queen G3, king F1. Bishop takes... Oh, sorry. I mean, rook E2 hangs the knight on F3. That can't be...
Okay, yeah. So it's got to be knight G4. Because if rook F1...
We can't double check as much as we did the last one. You know what I mean? Like, unless you have another
no, and I
idea.
think
Danny, I take blame. I said knight g4. Unless you have another idea. Nope. But still, I mean, we have to go like at a quicker pace, much quicker pace. I didn't have another suggestion there, by the way. Queen g3, king h1, bishop f2 did not look right to me. Because queen h3 is not even a mate threat there.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still here with Maurice Ashley. Make sure to check him out. Twitch.tv/GM Ashley for all the puzzle action. And talking about puzzle action, Maurice, I was having a quick peek at Levy and Hikaru. They're not stopping. They're just not stopping. They're on 72 right now.
I'm telling you, professional ego. They can't help themselves. They just want to have the best score possible. What else do you live for? You're a chess player. And they've just decided that's it. We're just going to go for it. They're giving up the second hour completely, and they just want to have this number. You know, if you bail quickly, think about it. You bail quickly, and who cares, right? You're like, you could have gotten a great number. You could have put a record up. You could put up a number that nobody else will touch ever. That's like climbing Mount Everest. Okay, a lot of people climb Mount Everest, but still. They want to break the record. That's what they want to do. I want to set at least a number that will be remembered for all time. So they're after it right now. And we see a lot of arrows going all kinds of directions.
Hikaru style. Typical Hikaru.
Goodness gracious, Hikaru. Nobody can understand this but you. But there's some tactics clearly in White's favor. He's showing the queen. This is something you want to spot. Queen with a knight in the way, only this knight sitting on the e5 square. If you could just play queen takes queen, you'd be so happy. But the knight on e5 is in the way. Is there a way to get that knight out of the way with attacking a tempo? That seems problematic at the moment. Hard to see. The rook on d1 is also not working. So it means those 5 pieces, the 2 knights, the queen, the bishop on d3, and the rook on g3, are the only forces, the advanced forces that will get the job done. How to do it, however, I do see a weird way to possibly win the queen, but I give up too much material. Yeah, I can win the queen, but I have to give up my rook and both knights in order to pull it off, which I'm not feeling. I can take on e6 and take on g7, and then play queen g3 check, and then my knight could move out the way with check at the end. I know that may have sounded like a lot, but the bottom line is to be able to check the king with the knight on e5 somehow, and then take the queen on c7. So that's there in the position, but you might have to give up too much material to make it happen.
Correct. No, that's a good point. There are. So this is the thing when I get these positions or these puzzles. There are so many themes going on. Like I can win a queen, I can take an f7, I can force a check. Like there are undefended pieces. Like it's hard for me to choose which theme to go for, and that's for me the most difficult part about these positions.
Welcome to chess. We all have to suffer that. That is the way the chessboard works. Sometimes it's easy, and then the other times you're like, what the heck is going on here? And they're struggling with one of those right now. It looks like potentially even a sacrifice on h7 with the knight to try to get into the g7 square with some cookies, but I don't see it. I don't see it either.
Interesting one.
You could take on f7 that goes nowhere. Yeah, taking on f7 actually doesn't do anything at all.
Oh, to go for it. Take on h7 first.
Wow. That was
the g6 check at the end.
G6 check at the end was quite deep. The fact that the h, I mentioned 5 things in the position, and the h pawn was the 6th attacking unit that I did not mention, and it turned into a g pawn and then played g6 at the end. That was bananas. I'm going to say that was bananas. That was an incredible puzzle.
Okay, I want a prediction for you, Maurice. The top of the hour is in 11 minutes. Then the new hour starts. They were still going then at the moment. Do you think they're gonna keep going then? let's say they're at 80, they're gonna keep spending time to get as high as possible, or like at exactly 10 minutes, they're gonna cut it and they're gonna start the third hour.
I feel like they're just locked in and don't care about anything else but getting the biggest number possible.
I have the same idea. Yeah, they want to get to 100.
Yeah, 100 before the stream's up would be amazing. I mean, you're starting to do puzzles that are what, 4,000, 4,500 rated puzzles. I mean, they'll say, you know, everybody else was playing Mickey Mouse puzzles. They were doing literally the Donald Duck puzzles while we were doing the Godzilla puzzles. So they're going to have a whole different attitude about it. I think that's where they are. They're going to, okay, you got the best of the hour. Congratulations. We could have steamrolled you anytime we wanted to. But what we're after is to show that we are Godzilla. All right. Exactly. This is what they want to show, that they are just an incredible team. This might be the Avengers playing Puzzle Rush right now. I mean, this is
exactly.
I mean, this
Captain America and Harry Potter. Not part of the Avengers, but Levy does look like it, so we can make that joke. We're gonna see. I think they're asserting dominance on the field. I like that. We're gonna keep a close eye on them, chat. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have a look-see from time to time. Let's quickly jump back at Amon and Danny, who are the current leaders since they got 66 already, which is their top of the hour in this one, and they restarted, I've been told. So they're already on a good start. They should be the ones winning right now. We can actually show the leaderboard of hour 2 real quick with only 9 more minutes to go. Hikaru and Levy are now on 73. I'm not sure if that one counts. We're going to have to talk with the team since they're still going on from the last time. But maybe it pulls through. Then it will be easy. Danny and Amon second with 66, and Eric Rosen and Tatov have 50. So there's still a lot to play for. This is back at Amon, and they're getting a lot of... Every time I look at their stream, they're getting rook end games, and they don't seem too happy about it, because those are really, really difficult.
You got to be totally annoyed at rook endings, man. They're so hard. They're just so hard to deal with, and this one is not easy either. You'd love to somehow just promote. Meantime, Black is thinking about promoting 2 separate pawns as well. So what do? If you try to bring your king closer, you get checked, and then you have to leave, and it doesn't seem like your king can hang out in any way to be of any benefit. Just too many checks to the king. So the king will... Does it matter if the king is on h7? I don't think so. Yeah, that looks like nothing either. Unless there's a mating idea. Could there possibly be mate? That sounds cuckoo. No, there's no mate. Oh, wait a minute, but there is a c2. Yes. Wow, okay, that became very easy all of a sudden. Yeah, they pointed it out just as I was spotting that c2 was so powerful. So it wasn't that hard an ending for them, it turned out. Now this one, you could win the queen, but you'd have to give up your rook and your knight in order to do so. So they're going to go with, so that's the knight d5. Now they're going to try to figure out, can they just attack this king out of its mind with a rook b5 check and a king on a6? And then do you have a straightforward attacking idea? Not so easy.
Easy indeed.
I don't understand. Isn't there knight d5 at the back end? Rook b5, king a6, and knight d5 looks crushing. Although no, there's a check on d6 you have to worry about. That's the problem.
Queen d6.
Yeah, rook b5, king a6, knight d5, queen d6, or even queen e5 check would both be playable. And then rook takes on b5 coming next. So the knight on f4 is actually doing work, stopping this check on the long diagonal. So you have to be mindful of that.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the webcams, and I see Danny in like a good resting position, concentrated, and I see Amon just giving up. He's really... I know that position. That's like, what is going on here? What do I need to do?
Well, you're down a rook for 3 pawns, and the king looks like it's toast. But the only direct check that makes any sense is rook b5. Again, knight d6 allows king takes on c5. There's no mating attack, and if you take the queen, then you just get recaptured with the rook, and your queen alone is not going to get the job done against the 3 pieces. So winning the queen doesn't make sense. Nothing on c6 makes sense. Is there a funny knight move? Doesn't look like it. So I would say rook b5 has to be played.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine another move being in the position. Like, that just looks like it has to be played. But king a6, now you need to sneak your queen over. What about queen d5?
Queen d5? Wow.
Yeah, because you can't play rook takes rook because the queen takes b5.
No, that's true. No, you're right.
And it threatens rook a5.
Yeah, they're showing it. They are showing it, and
I mean, that looks crushing.
Yeah, this
looks
like. Yeah.
It looks over. King
This is easier than from what Levy and Hikaru had, because this is like the only forcing thing that you have. Like, you need to keep checking because you're a rook down. You need to. The king's in the center, so you gotta give checks. Like, it's easier to approach. That's the difference between a 2800 puzzle that they are on right now, or like a 4000 puzzle that Hikaru and Levy were on. Also, a quick edit note, everyone. It's not by the hour. It all counts. The point of the puzzle rush is going as long as you want. So Hikaru and Levy Rosman are going also for the hour to win at this moment. That was completely my mistake. They are eligible. They are going to win it. Unless... No! They got it wrong! Let's quickly listen in what they have to say.
No, it's king c8. King c8 after check, right? Queen
no,
b5,
because if queen b5, king c7, rook a7, king
c8.
c8.
So in a lame turn of events, they wanted us to play c5 and win the queen.
The move was c5 check.
Lame.
I hate when
Just
I call
lame.
a bad puzzle and I'm wrong.
But Danny, how beautiful was our line?
Our line was so much better.
Now you got to submit the second half of our line as like a separate puzzle.
Seriously, like if king to c7, rook a7, king c8. What in the world? That is so.
You can
dumb.
set the puzzle with the king on d8, queen on b5, rook a7, white to play and win.
Right.
Knight e6 check and queen
Right.
a6 and rook c7. That's a puzzle rush right there,
ridiculously
Danny.
awesome puzzle, dude. Seriously. Oh man, that was painful. But it's hard because what we were doing was not wrong. We're trying to use the fact that we need to catch up. We were like, oh, we've solved it. Let's go. Damn it. All right. Wait, we were just
So
here.
let's go. So the next puzzle is super speed. We got 3 minutes for the next hour, and it's worth doing another attempt for the third hour, in my opinion.
Okay, so it's king f8, right?
Your instinct. Awesome. We got a high score here, 53.
Okay. Man. Help me, just yell them out if you see them. Oh, mouse. This is why I'm bad at bullet now, because I literally am super slow with the old mouse speed.
Mouse speed is not important, right?
Bullet?
This isn't puzzle rush.
That's true.
It's more about like puzzle speed, and then moving the mouse slowly. Knight e2, queen g2.
Yep.
Dude, we already know we're gonna play some move here, and it's just going to end.
I know. No, that's the wrong attitude to have, Levy, because if you think that that's going to be true. If you think they're going to get it right, we'll get it right. So no, we're actually going to get it right because we're going to play some good moves here, like knight c6 probably, right? Queen b2 has to be wrong, doesn't it?
It doesn't feel right. I mean, dude, I mean, okay. Yeah, like I was gonna like this has to be right, and now, is it knight a7 or is it queen b2? It's gotta be queen b2.
Knight a7 king. It's got to be.
All right, we're back, everyone. You could hear in. They didn't think that they would get this one. They thought this one was over, but the knight c6 surprised them. This is the correct move. So very dicey position. I don't know what to make of it. And in good faith, they're on 73 at the moment. Do you think they're going to catch 80, Maurice?
They have to get past this one. If this one's going to be this tough, then the others follow might break their brains as well. You know, the thing about this position, it defies any pattern that you know. You think you've got the king circled, but these knights are just so annoying. They defend all checks very well. So they're trying to figure out, is there a way to get some kind of stable construction that doesn't get the king to run away? And every check you look at, king takes d5 seems to be the main problem, as the king will then just prance over to e4 square and then get away. Is it true? Is it real? Or is there some way of constructing a mating net? If they find the next move, puzzle gods might give them the puzzle is solved. So that's the other thing as well you got to be careful for. With 2 puzzles wrong already, they are desperate at the moment. Even having found this far, I'm going to say to you, I don't think they thought they might have come this far. And now that they're here, they're thinking, wait, we should have this puzzle solved.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know the answer. So it's pretty hilarious for us watching, not for them playing. But I am looking at this while I'm talking. I don't see a solution either. How do you construct the net around this king? Queen c3 looks attractive.
I have one idea. And that idea is knight to e7 to allow queen b6 mate. And you defend d5. That is my only thing that I can see that makes sense here.
Right, but is there another threat? Is there a rook c6 check? No. Is there a queen a3 if I move my rook? So the point is, you're only going to have this one threat, which is to play queen to b6. What if I defend it? What if I play, for example, queen b3, or I drop a rook? What if I play queen b1?
That's a good move.
Then I hang queen c3, king to b5, and now I need a move.
You're right, rook c6 isn't a checkmate.
So queen b1 becomes a defense.
Oof.
Rook to b1 also is interesting to look at. I mean, you only have one threat, and it looks like when I change a position, that the threat disappears, and then you don't have anything else. Not queen b3, but rook b1, I think, is the one that I'm most afraid of.
No, you're right. You're right. All right, so scratch that. That's not going to work. Ooh, it's a difficult thing. And you're going to feel so bad when you get it wrong. You're going to feel so bad when these things go wrong, even though it's very... they've already completed so much. You know, they're already so far. And this is still their first attempt. They're still on their first attempt going this high. But there's ego there as well, chat. You don't. The best way for them to end is to get their first attempt, ride it all the way out to like 85, and that's it. That will be the dream scenario. That's what they're going for. So we're gonna hope that
they may not be able to get past this one.
No, this is a very difficult one, absolutely. And they also look like no idea.
Frustrated. Frustrated, that's what it is.
Yeah,
you think you know enough about chess that you should not see something that's so bizarre that you can't solve it. And here it is. You're like, what's going on? How the squares are all covered. Even the pawn on a4 is laughing at you, covering the b5 square just in case. And the knights are well connected. You might want to sacrifice for one of those knights, but then you don't see the stable construction that generates a mating idea. And I got to admit, I mean, it's easy to play a check, queen c3, queen b5, queen b4, excuse me, but king takes on d5, that king is very annoying, like really annoying. It looks like you cannot easily get at it. That's why you want to play 97 and not allow this possibility at all. There is another weird, that's too weird, knight b4 is very weird.
That's a good thing. They have a second attempt. After 97, they also threatened queen c3 check, queen c4 check, and rook a6 mate.
This is true.
Another idea.
So that shuts down all the B1, the rook B1 idea that I mentioned.
Yeah. Maybe that's the one.
So that means queen B3 would be forced. But that
Then you
hangs a
lose
rook
the
on
rook.
A1. And I don't see how that is not. Oh, wait. That could be a problem, actually, because there is a knight G5 check, but it looks like you get out.
You're right.
Yeah. No, because you have queen B8, king F7, and knight G5 at the back end, but then king
or rook F8, pull back,
or rook F8 works as well. Yeah, you're right. No, I like knight E7.
I think that's the one.
Missing here. Queen B3. Queen takes, queen check. Yeah.
There it is.
And take the rook.
Got it correct. Ooh,
no, you're
a little intermezzo's. No, you're gonna lose that. Doesn't work.
If that's wrong, it's painful.
There you got it correct. And they're happy.
See, when you solve a super hard
finally
puzzle
some
like
smiles.
That, you feel really good.
Finally some smiles on the faces. Are they gonna get to 80? I'm gonna say no, because these things get way too hard. But I do hope they get 80. It will be a very nice score to have. We do have the leaderboard set for the hour 2. We have Hikaru Nakamura and Levi Rosman are still on their grind. They got to 73 in hour 2. So they do win the second hour. I just came in here and you were here earlier. As I previously mentioned, it is like we're trying to get the longest run possible. So they do get rewarded for this. And it does count for second hour, everyone. So they are going, going forward. We're going to see how that's going to work out in the third hour. Kevin Bordy and Sebastian Mays actually popped in for a quick second. Grandmaster Sebastian Mays and Kevin Bordy. And they got 54. And now they're going to play back to Blitz. So we haven't seen them yet. We're going to have a quick look at Hikaru and Amon, or Hikaru and Levi later. Let's have a quick look again at Anamaya and Nicer. How they are doing. They're on 55 right now. Also a high score. With a very interesting attack on the king side.
Yes. Wow.
Oh, look at them cheering. Look at them.
Cheering and Gary's head is bobbing on the screen. For real. Wow. They're so happy to solve this move. That's what you want to see. Joy as you are successful. Very good job by the ladies there.
Absolutely. Kind of threatening, Gary Kasparov. I'm not gonna lie. She's shoving that towards the camera. I'm gonna be a little bit threatened, but they're doing well. Only one mistake. A very interesting, another king side attack it seems. But as I've learned from Maurice as well, our king is a little bit drafty as well. How would you? How do you feel about disposal?
Well, the first thing I notice again is what's happening to my king. And at the moment, well, my position itself, the king on G8 is not that well protected. The pawn on G6 is in the way, but if somehow the bishop leaves, then queen takes G6 will be a bit of an issue, because then you have queen H6 check, and you can take the rook on F8 with check as well. So there is some stuff over there. Now they're back to analyzing the key attacking moves that you could have. So queen with check. Material is even-ish. Actually, it's even. So what I was thinking was queen D3 check, and they found immediately the idea of running to E1. I also considered bishop to D2, giving away the bishop. Why is that a good idea? Because bishop D2 threatens queen G6 check, right? And so if you trade queens on if you play queen takes bishop check, pawn, queen takes, and then pawn takes, then white can play knight takes on D4, and nothing bad happened. So the point of the pawn hanging on G6 will count in that line. They're looking, if you look at the queen check, they also just realized that king to E1 stops their checks as well. So pretty direct. Save.
We're going to see if it's going to work out.
taking on b2 definitely looks like an interesting idea as well.
They're still smiling. They're still laughing. Happy that they got the last puzzle zone. I'm not sure what they're talking about.
Also, by the way, queen d3 check king e1 is rook takes on f6. On f3, excuse me. Rook takes on f3. Bishop, queen check king e1, rook takes on f3. And you threaten to take on e4 with check. I mean, that looks really promising, actually.
Sorry, come again? I was zoning out. Which line are we looking at?
Queen d3, they have king e1 as their best defense. But I think king e1 runs into rook takes on f3.
That's a good move.
So I don't think king e1 is the best defense. Or maybe it is. But bishop d2, counterattacking on g6, looks to be, to me, the best way to defend. Bishop to d2 might save. Crazy idea to try and play this move, though. Bishop to d2. What if we just defend this pawn? Oh, I can play rook f6. Oh, I can play rook f6. That would be very powerful. So queen check on d3 has got to be the move. Taking on b2, no, that's actually quite useful. If that's the solution, then it's actually even simpler.
All right, they got the first moves done.
Now they finally pointed out the threat on g6. I've been talking about the threat on g6 this whole time, and now they finally pointed out that it could happen. But this idea of bishop d2 only after rook b1 is a great defensive point. And they're seeing if they take now on the b1 square, king to e2, attacks the queen on b1 and threatens queen takes on g6 with check. And this is when I point out that I first look at what's happening to me and what could happen to me problematically, that's why I point it out, because you never know. And all of a sudden, boom, it shows up out of nowhere. You think you're winning. But here, rook to f6, we had talked about that as a potential defense. That looks like it's winning, no?
No, you're right. It does seem like it's winning. Because there's no real way for white to proceed. And they are looking at to just trade off the queens.
The rook on b1 is hanging and it's trapped. So if you just play rook f6 and play defense, you guard the g6 square, and there's no way to generate anything if you're wait a minute. Yeah, and I can take on a2 at the end. So there's no way to generate anything if you're white. So it seems to me that rook f6 is the stopper. You guard g6. There are no attacks after that. And then your rook on b1, the rook on b1 will be in your pocket.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's more like, okay, we're going to take on b1 check first, king to e2, but then we don't have any checks left. So very good point here made by Maurice is defend that g6 pawn, play rook f6, make sure that your position is, in order. Look at your position first. I never do that. Maybe that's why I'm so low rated.
And that's why they're stuck. You understand? I had already seen the problem of the g6 pawn, potential problem, and I had the rook f6 idea earlier in another line, because so by having this idea earlier, it's easy to find right now, and it looks like they finally divined on it. So it came as a surprise to them that the g6 pawn was hanging. It shouldn't have come as a surprise to them if they had just thought about their opponent's idea first before they calculated anything, right? So they were busy looking at queen d3, takes on b2, which one's better? But if they had first studied the idea of the g6 pawn potentially is the threat that white might have, then they would have seen, hey, maybe we could defend with rook f6 in some far-off future if it becomes a point. Now it surprised them, and it's only the surprise that's keeping them from playing the move rook f6 right now, because clearly rook f6 shuts down everything, and what they're actually scared to play it.
There we go.
They did play it, and of course knight d4 is answered by queen b1 and queen a2, and then the attack runs through. So
I'm very happy though.
By the way, big news. Hikaru and Levy did fail to go any further. And they're now whipping through these early puzzles to get back to a high number. I told you it was getting harder and harder. That last puzzle was so rough. Finding knight to e7, that was really extremely difficult. And if the puzzles are going to keep being at that level, then trying to go beyond it was going to be really hard.
Yeah.
By the way, I had this question for you. How are these puzzles made, or is that state secret?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I signed an NDA, so I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. But someone in my team will let me know that it's A, something like this, or B, don't mention it on stream, Big, or you're fired. So it's one or the other. We're gonna see what it is. I do know that sometimes, like during like events of the SEC, if there actually is a really cool thing, they just put it in puzzles. They add it from like cool positions, but I don't know exactly how they're being made. Yeah, we have 45 minutes left in this broadcast. We're now in the 3rd hour. Let's remind everybody quickly of the prizes that we can win. The best overall score is, without a doubt, going... Well, I'm going to say without a doubt, but... yeah, I'm going to say without a doubt. Going towards Levi and Hikaru. They got to 74, I believe, which is amazing. Second best overall score will probably be Danny and Aman, but a lot can still happen. Best in 1st hour and best in 2nd hour both went to Hikaru and Levi. We're going to see who's going to do it in 3rd hour. Talking about prizes, let's look at the format, because we're going to see you back. Isn't that right, Maurice? Which days do we see you back in this format?
Well, I skip a day and then I come back on day 4 and day 5 is what I understand. Definitely day 5. But I think I'm back on day 4 as well.
Well, if you are, I'm going to be back as well. We're going to do it together again. So that's going to be some good stuff. I think it's D4 and D5 in as well. So we're going to see. I just got a cool little thing up as well. I thought I got a ping for the puzzles, but we still don't know how those are being made. That is a state schedule. State secret. I was saying schedule because I was looking at schedule. We're now on day 2, everyone. Survival mode. We're going to do tomorrow. It's puzzle battle, which will be a bracket of 16 players battling it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Day 4, it's going to be puzzle rush again. The 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes. So that's going to be a very long day. Going to be a lot of puzzles. And then obviously the puzzle battle championship on the final day, which will be hosted by Maurice Ashley and Danny Wrench. Danny's not playing at the moment. Let's quickly look in. Now on 46 with Amon Hambleton. And there, ooh, I dislike this position because there's too much going on.
Really? I see a juicy knight on e5, and the only problem is that my bishop is pinned on b3. So that's really all that's going on in this position. The question is, can we rock 'em, sock 'em? I want to take on e5, play queen f3 check, and then d6, and rock and roll, from what I can tell. No, wait a minute. d6, you have queen d7 at the end. Take on e5. Oh, no. Take on e5 and play d6 immediately. That's killer. What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
Oh, you have a check on b6. You have a check after my d6. And then you go out. Oh, but you can't touch my bishop. No, take and play d6. What's the problem? d6, you check me. I move my king, and I'm threatening mate on e5. And if you take that pawn on d6, I play queen f3 check, and you should get rolled. You do have king g5. I don't believe it. That's got to lose. And otherwise, because I have h4 or something like that. And otherwise, I take on f7. Actually, you have to play g5. So d6, any check, I just move the king and laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to take. d6, you have to take. Queen f3 check, you have to go to g5. And now I can play h4 check, king takes. Then I have rook e4 check. Your king somehow, and then rook g4 and then queen h3. Yeah, what's wrong with d6 right now?
No, d6 seems really good. A long variation, so maybe not really followed by everyone, but gonna involve a pawn to d6 first. So the f7 pawn, the pawn behind the king, is going to be weak for attacks. So the king cannot hide anymore on g7, the dark square in the top right. as they go to g5. The darks were on the bottom right. Or I see Danny freaking out. And they should be making it to the end. So see if they can
I don't understand why they're panicking here. What am I missing? It must be something. We're missing something, yeah? D6 hits the queen. If you take the pawn, then the bishop on b3 is suddenly in the act. So that white bishop is eyeballing f7, is just thrilled, and queen f3 check is going to be a mating attack. Your king is going to just get raked over the coals, no matter where it goes. Well, actually, maybe you go to e7. No. E7, I take on f7 and play rook d1 and pin your queen to the king that's going to end up on d8. So why is d6 not instant? What is it that they see that is causing any issue? I'm stunned. I have to not believe in myself if this is so easy and these two very strong players are not seeing it. There must be something sneaky that Black can do.
Could be. We're going to have a look at it, but I have a small surprise for you, Maurice.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
Yes, a very, very small Christmas gift, if you can say. We got the position that Hikaru and Levy had all the way, the first time we started the stream.
Nice.
All the way in the back, with all the king and the pawns, and we couldn't believe how that ended, so we just wanted to show you how it went. So let's play this puzzle. What was our first move here, Maurice?
I was definitely h4 check.
Yes.
And then queen g3 check. And king h3.
King h3.
And that threatens f4. The engine didn't give us a chance, but it threatened f4 and then queen h4 mate. So f5 was forced. And if he had played h5, we would have taken on h5 and then queen h4 was mate. So f5 is forced, and now queen h4 check. And this is where the puzzle stopped.
Correct.
It wouldn't let us analyze. So can you let us analyze from here? You must.
We can analyze from here.
Analyze indeed.
And then we'll
turn
everything off.
Yeah. So now I'm going to argue that. I thought the solution after this takes check here, king up here, queen check. I thought the solution after king f4 was to play the move g5 check. You like queen h6, but I like this move.
Yeah, g5 is the correct one.
Yeah, because now after you play your king to f3, I don't have a mating pattern. I would love to trade off queens with check, if possible. Because I could play queen g3 and queen takes on e5, but then you hide on f1. Like, try that variation, for example. The engine should not be happy. Exactly. Bad move, because now when I take on e5 with check, probably hide on f1, and big deal. Big whoop. Nothing. So,
yeah, you're right.
So I can't let that happen. So instead, it looks like I should just take on h6 with the pawn.
Yeah. Engine also agrees to that. And then that's a good variation, because it's unfortunate the engine already stopped here, and that's probably because
maybe there are multiple.
Is there a different move that's just as good? Is not this, right? No. Okay.
No, g5 in that case.
G5 is the only move. Okay. If that's the only move, then the puzzle should have continued. You are correct, sir. You are correct.
The only move that's just I thought the only move that was just as good is to bring the queen back and check again. But then they wouldn't. Then king e4 changes the position. Yeah, and then that's not good. So that's not as good.
Crazy position.
They didn't let us play g5 and take an h6 to prove the point.
We got to teach the audience. You got to teach me. I didn't know what was going on. So
yeah. And critically important in that position, by the way, is that Black couldn't play queen d8. If you go back to the position.
Yeah, all the way here.
No. At the very end, when you took on h6.
Right here.
No, not this one. G5, king f3, take on h6. Because if Black could now get back to the back rank and hang out on h8, that might create a problem. You understand? So queen somehow to the back rank. But the problem is queen d8 is not playable.
No.
Queen d8 is not playable. So that means White's going to get tempi to play queen g3, take on e5 with check if need be, so drive your king away and continue to push this pawn home. And that's the problem.
It's just too difficult to stop this pawn.
You don't have a direct way to stop the pawn, so you have to literally start hoping that you get some counterplay against the white king. Like you pointed out, queen e1 might be a move. No, queen e1 loses on the spot to queen trade. Queen d1. Queen d1 would be the only move. Queen d1 or queen c1.
Queen c1.
No, queen d1 is the only move. Queen c1 allows a queen trade as well, because so play queen c1, threatening mate, but now queen g3 check, king moves, and then queen e3 check.
Yep, and then these are traded off.
And the same thing would have happened if you put the queen on e1. So that's why you need to play the move queen d1 if you're going to try to get anything going in this position. Queen d1 and a hope for the best. Now you're hoping that the trade of queens cannot happen. But this is, even here, just to show you how technical it is, even here you have to be careful because queen g3 check, well, you have to make sure a mate doesn't happen to you. So you have to deal with queen g3 check, and the engine's saying this is a bad move. King e4, and this is work.
Good question. The art checks now.
Yeah, there's a check and a check. You're probably still winning this position, but maybe the best move was actually king h2, refined, like seriously refined.
Just a little in betweener. King h2. No more checks, and we're going to queen.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You should force these guys to find these kind of moves. That's high level right there. I mean, come on. King h2 at the end. Oops, you got nothing. Queen f1, we just play queen g3 check, chase you out of there, push the pawn. That was sophisticated. That was a very sophisticated puzzle.
Perfect. Absolutely. We're going to go on a quick break, everyone. We'll be back in about 3 minutes with some more of these look-ins, with the final half hour of the puzzle rush, of puzzle survival in this puzzle week. See you guys just a bit.
Could you put that?
Bishop of 8 forces another only move. So we've got that going for us. If we come back to e7 there and they get a queen.
Oh, bishop f8. Rook a6, king h5, bishop f8, g4.
Uh-huh.
Then our mating pattern is simply like the idea of rook back to a5, threatening bishop h7 check, leading to mate somewhere. No, bishop e4 check. And the reason I want to choose e4 check
plays king to g5. So from the top, we've got rook a6, king
h5,
h5, bishop f8, g4, rook a5.
And now I say what goes first? What goes first? What goes first? Is it rook a5 or bishop e4 first? Has to be rook a5, I guess. It's annoying.
I like your idea.
I want to go bishop.
First?
Okay, I want to go bishop to e4 in that position.
And then king g5.
And then I want to go bishop. Oh, no.
Yeah, because he's getting to f4.
He's getting at f4, exactly.
Oh my gosh, this is so hard.
This is annoying. Rook a6, king h5.
So
rook takes a7.
Wait.
I totally forgot that pawn was there.
King up.
And then g4, bishop e3. G4, bishop e3.
So upsetting.
That would have been heartbreaking.
Yeah. Okay, so is it knight d6 here, or is it
That's
rook
okay.
c7? It's got to be rook c7, right?
Rook c7. And then what? You want to go knight d8?
I guess.
Oh,
Or knight d6.
okay. Oh, not yeah, actually.
Yeah, or bishop d3. I don't know. Bishop d3 is also moving knight d6, but knight d6 looks right, doesn't it?
Knight h6.
Or knight e7.
Right.
But it's knight d6, right? Or is it bishop d3? What do you think?
Hold on. By the way, why is it not knight d8? Because it doesn't. Is it not creating enough of a threat? You take your bishop. Knight oh yeah, there's.
It's knight d6 or bishop d3. I think knight d6 must be right, but I'm not sure. Let's just jump. Yeah.
Well, there you go. The parachute got stuck.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I don't know. Bishop e7 maybe.
Just bishop e7.
I don't know. What was it? Was it queen? Was it bishop? Was it Yeah. Let's do one more.
What are the high scores right now? How's Ali Reza? How's MVL? They got 30 minutes, so I mean.
And welcome back, everyone. My name is Wouter Big. I'm still joined here by Maurice Ashley, twitch.tv/GM Ashley for all the puzzle battle. And we have a new contender who just joined, Maurice. You want to introduce him?
Well, he needs no introduction. Young man, Ali Reza. I have to say, I didn't know he had a bro who was a master level player as well. Definitely a great team, to be sure. This young G can hit hard, and he finds tactics in seconds. And you see there, it looks like they've already gone up to 50.
Yeah, that's 50. They just started. They started like, I think, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. And they're trying to catch the leaders who are now at 55 around the hour. If I'm correct, I'm going to have to check the leaderboard in that real quick. But wow, they're here. They're trying to make it work. It looks like they're having fun. And it's an interesting position.
It is an interesting position. And the question of how to win without allowing any kind of draw. You don't want the knight to catch your G-pawn. If that happens, then it is a draw. But that was just a gift. Just took on F4, and that was the end of that. They're going to dominate up to this point. Now, here we have an interesting one for them. The puzzles are starting to get a little bit trickier. They were able to blitz through, but now it's starting to get a little bit trickier. Here, rook G3 looks possible, but a queen sack would happen. And this is the key to look at this. He sees
it's too good.
Breakfast says was awesome the way he found that. You saw his brother bobbing his head right there. Like, my man knows these kind of tactics in his sleep. That was very well done. All right, this one is going to come down to the F pawn. How do you promote the F pawn while also dealing with the white E pawn wanting to go up the board as well? Rook E2 definitely isn't. Actually, no. Rook E2 could get the job done if you can get the opposition in the end. It's going to be a tempo. King E3, B4, king, king, king. No, you can't get in. Rook E2 doesn't get it done, it looks like. But what else could you possibly do here? Maybe you need to play king F5, E6. Whoa, E6 is playable. Huh. Oh, yeah, king F5, E6. Take, then check. Move, check, check, king. I think you could play king F5.
King F5. All right. I'm going to play...
Because rook E2 then becomes very strong.
You're right.
If the rook backs up. Or I guess he could check you also. No, he could play rook F4 check, and then rook takes on G4. Doesn't...
You don't have any... Well, yeah, you can't get to your pawn then.
No, then king F5, rook F4 check is too strong. Rook E2 then becomes the... I mean, I don't see another idea then. Rook E2 becomes the only move, but takes, king F2, king F5, king takes on E5, takes...
Before you win?
No, he's playing king E3.
Rook you're already asking king E3. Okay. You're down one tempo.
King E3, and if you play B4, he plays king D3, and then when you play king D5, he plays king back to E3. No, rook e2 doesn't seem to work.
Well, what about a very simple rook g2, rook takes g3? Are you not going to catch that pawn on the d file? On the e file?
Well, good luck trying to catch it.
Well, they're going to go for it.
Really?
Yeah. Because they say, I'm going to play rook to h3, I'm going to play g3, I'm going to mate you.
That's amazing.
Oh, look at that!
That was amazing. Kudos to them and you for finding that, because that was absolutely amazing.
Process of elimination in my thoughts. Bit luck, but it feels good.
Yeah, with
though
nothing
they
else
do.
It was one of those where with nothing else to do, you had to do it. In a real tournament game, though, you would have to really pay deep attention to it. What do they have on their? Is that snow?
Yeah, they still in the Christmas mood.
That's pretty funny.
Pretty cold in France. That is true. One editor note that I need to point out, chat. Hikaru and Levy ended on 74 in the third hour, even though it was only 5 minutes in. It does count. So Alireza and his brother need to get at least 74 to tie or 75 to win, and they only have 24 minutes left. So it's going to be a tough challenge, one could say. For sure, and they seem like very, very intrigued about this f2 pawn that is double attacked, but as your coach Maurice would say, also look at your own defense. The light squares are a little bit scrapey. What's Black's plan here, Maurice?
Black would love to check and then take on f2. That's Black's plan. White's attack doesn't seem to be significant enough. Bishop g6 would have to be on the board. So Black wants to take on f2, but that was too easy.
Yeah,
that was number 54, and that was a solution. That was too easy. I would have been suspicious. They were suspicious for sure because it was just too easy in that one. All right, this one, the bishop on e4 is hanging directly, but then your knight on d4 is hanging. So what to do? e5 comes in as an idea to then unleash the beast of a bishop on d7 and also get your queen to potentially swing to g6, depending on what that bishop does. It's not super immediately forcing, but since the knight has no forward squares that dominate, like a knight f3 or knight e2, knight f5 doesn't do it. It does seem to me, that e5. What do you do about e5?
Question.
Like just stabilize your position and unleash all the other pieces. There might be a queen h5 that he's scared about. Queen h5 could factor in suddenly.
Oh, they believe in you.
Now analyzing e5 as a move, but queen h5 factors in as a possible move. Although queen h5, I can also move my queen to f6. What did he play?
Oh, disgusting their faces.
What did he play though?
e5.
He did play e5.
He played f5, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a very strong attacking move, but what could have been a solution otherwise? Takes. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what it could have been because I was equally fooled by this move looking very strong.
We're going to see if we can dig it up later. No promises on that, but we're going to see if we can dig up that thing. But they're going to go, they're back into it. You know, they're bopping their heads. They're on 55 right now, and they just need 20 more correct puzzles. Nothing. That is something, chat.
Right.
Very, very difficult. They are going strong. Levy and Hikaru at the moment are on 49 in their new run, but 74 is still their highest. We have, let's quickly jump over to Danny and Amon over here. Danny and Amon are on 54, also only one behind, with very strong team in a very interesting position. That's actually why I pulled it up. We have a lot of rooks, a lot of knights, and a pawn that's about to promote.
You know what I'd like to see, although I don't know if it's possible, but I would love to see the puzzles be the same for all players. Don't they have that? I've seen that done before.
Correct.
That's Puzzle Battle, right?
Correct, yes.
So it seems like in this case, the randomization should create some kind of consistency of difficulty level. Okay, if you already have it in puzzle battle, then I should just shut up and enjoy what I'm watching.
No, you're right. You're right. In an event like this, it would be easier if that one streamer had found a solution that a viewer would look at it and just go to the other streamer. Hey, 55 is bop, 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 bop. So that might take into place. Maybe that's why. But we have it in puzzle battle, so
yes.
Move on to this. But let's look at this position here, Maurice. I think they're about to solve it.
Well, the problem is you can't take the rook on d3 because e1 knights with check.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
Picks off your queen. So you can't take this rook that looks so free for a second. You're like, why wouldn't I take that? Also, you could have also thought about queening as well, but knighting looked cuter. This one is about trying to trap that king, though, and either check allows it to run. Although rook e7, you can go to f6. That's the problem. Rook e7, king f6 is not playable. Why would they look at rook e7? Rook e7 lost king f6.
Okay, so you're not going to play this and going to go for the mate.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, the white king is under fire on g2. Okay, so we got to keep that in mind. In the meantime, the black king has issues with, can we carry out a direct attack? See, now they just pointed out g2. It's interesting the way different players think. Like they looked at some things first, and then you saw they pointed out g2 at the back end of everything. Mm-hmm. And I look at the back end of everything first, and then I start to think about using that as my information, what I should do aggressively. That's the Aikido training in me.
A fun little fact. I have two fun little facts to throw in between. So Alirez's brother, Mohammad Reza Firoja, is a 20-year-old brother. Is his first chess coach, actually. He's an industrial engineer student, and he's Alirez's manager at the moment with a FIDE rating of 2141. That's the brother. Yep, that's sitting next to him. And another cool fact, Anna Maya Kazarian and Anna Kremling are both still on their first run. They haven't lost yet. They're still on the first run.
Wow.
Both are in their contenders of being the longest run, which means a nice price.
Nice.
By the position, it seems like they solved it. This is, this looks like a very equal game where I would never suspect there's a tactic here if I was playing.
You mean with the white pieces?
Yeah, if it was a tournament game. It would be hard.
Of course you would. Of course you would. The problem for black is this harmony in the camp, and white's king is much safer. So you got the rook on g8, and you had a king sitting on the c8 square, very exposed to a possible check. And black is barely holding things together because queen a6 check, you have to play queen to b7, and you would lose at least the pawn, right? Because queen, you could have traded queens and played rook d7 check, and then pick off the pawn on f7. So
yeah.
There was immediate tactical possibilities in the position, but the engine's saying, no, this is a mating attack. We're going to get more than just a stinking pawn, but how do you do it? And you see Danny holding his head there, and Aman is peering at the chessboard. Queen a6 looks like the great move, but then king d8, and you can't just keep checking because the king is going to run. So you don't want the king to get away. Here we have the check. Looks like the only way, but now it's this rook check that looks so juicy, but then king to e7. And is queen a3 check a hit? No, c5 shuts you down. Well, then I guess the main question is, what's wrong with rook to b7?
Yeah, it looks like the can is a rook to d1 or rook to b7, and there's the one. I was going to take that.
Why did rook e7 as a defense is not the kind of thing you're supposed to do. I mean, move the queen and let the guy figure out something, but for you to just gift the rest of it with rook e7, sometimes the engines see too much.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, they'll find this. They'll find this. No, we won't. Believe me, we won't. Make it harder. Let's look at one more puzzle for them. Then we're going to switch back to Alireza and Firoja. Alireza, Firoja.
What's interesting about this puzzle is rook c3 looks like it wins on the spot. Rook c3 hits the queen. In fact, traps the queen. Look at that. Rook c3 traps the queen on the spot, right? Except knight takes d4 shows up out of nowhere. And you can't take the queen because knight takes f3 is check. And then your queen on d2 is hanging. So rook c3 looks, I mean, just delish until you see knight d4 land on the board. And you think, oh, come on. Really? That's just a hot mess. So rook c3 doesn't get the job done. d5 is the other move they're looking at, but rook takes d5. And even though the knight on e6 seems to be hanging, the d3 rook is hanging. You can't just keep trading on the d line because black will just keep doing everything with tempo. So though d5 and rook c3 look like both, because now they're looking at d5 and thinking, it's got to be the move. It's got to be the move. But rook takes d5, and what do? It doesn't look like you have anything. Rook e6, rook takes. Everything looks like too much tempi happening when the rook takes on d5. So you can't do that. Rook c5 doesn't do it. And that trapped queen just keeps coming back as an annoying reality in this position.
We're going to see. Yeah, it's going to work out. It feels like white is so strong, but black is so strong on the d file that...
That's it. It's that hyper pressure on the d line that's creating the big problem. If your king were on h1, the game would be over, but the king is exposed to this discover check. Rook c3, knight takes d4 is what's holding them up. And the problem is, what other move could you play? You saw Danny throw his hands up like, what other move could I play? Like, what are you supposed to do? Knight e5 would be a sweet move as well if the rook weren't sitting there. But the rook is needed to guard the b5 square, so that doesn't cut it.
So what do we do? Maurice, what do we do?
I'm telling you, man, this one's got me too. I can't play the double rook. How do you try? You're trying to trap the queen or fork with knight e5 or win the knight with d5 and all of it in beautiful ideas. Congratulations. None of them work. Like, what the heck?
What about also, queen?
Realize after d5, you can play knight takes f4 as well. So, although there might be a rook d4 there that wakes you up. And then rook d5. Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Oh no, that's okay. So rook d5 is direct. No need for knight f4. I'm just trying to prove just how nothing white's position is, even though it looks good. This is so sick.
What if white plays queen e3 or queen e2? What is black's response?
It's a good question. Is d4 hanging?
Because if the knight moves, you can always have a quick rook e8 check to trade those off, and then you can start harassing with your knight on 5 or e5.
It's possible. It's actually, given that nothing else is working, all the logical moves seem to just I've collapsed. I'd say, yeah, queen e3 looks like a try. Well, first of all, the problem is queen d3, rook d6 has to be considered.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So what is your next move? Because rook c3, queen a2, or d5. Maybe you could play d5 then.
Possible. Or you play queen e2, rook d6. Or, not good idea, queen e2, rook d6, and then rook d to e3. Then you're also hitting the queen.
I thought you played queen e3 on move 1.
That's also a possibility. And then rook d6.
I thought that's what you played. Didn't you play queen d3?
Yeah, that's yeah. Queen e3 was move 1, exactly. But now, rethinking it, maybe queen e2 is better because you can play rook e3 afterwards.
Oh no, but then I trade queens. Then I trade queens though.
And you trade those back off, and I'm still double attacking your knights, and you cannot play rook e8 because you have knight
e5.
Knight
takes d4. I can play knight takes d4.
Okay, okay.
No, d pawn is the ultimate culprit. But no. If we're gonna follow your idea, the logic is queen e3, rook d6, d5.
Oh, they went for it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know what else to do. It was rough.
I can't fault them. That was really difficult. We have to switch over to Alireza, who is playing right now with his brother. I've just got word that he quit. He's done for now. He got to 74, and he's thinks it is enough. So, Alireza, 11 minutes, get 14 puzzles right.
Ha! Good luck with that. That's not happening at this level. No way, no how. If he pulls that off, it will be a hot miracle. I'm going to tell you. That is super difficult to do at this moment.
No, 100% agree.
This one looks like Queen D1, Rook F5, Rook F2, take on G2. No, take there, bring the other rook in. King runs. No, Rook B2. The rook on B2 is the problem. Rook F5 allows just capture, so no. So here's the puzzle. So I wanted to get rid of this rook because Rook F5 is being answered by Rook F2. But if you take it, he takes your. So here's the real puzzle right here. If you now take on, you can't take on G2. It doesn't work. Wait. Yeah, that doesn't seem to work. Takes, check, king back. Take, no, that doesn't work. B1 is hanging, but white has so many pieces, you can't just start going after food. That move, that's extraordinary. If that next move he's about to play Queen G4 actually wins.
Oh, he's biting his nails. You see this?
I mean, they just want to make a move. I call that extraordinary. Queen G4. And now you can win the knight on B1 and keep the attack rolling, but
you take on F2 first.
Enough. Or is there better? I don't see any better.
No, whatever. I think the question is, do we take on F2 first, or do we just snag the knight off immediately?
Hard to say why it matters. If you take on B1, rook takes F5, you have to play queen takes because pawn takes allows queen E8 mate.
Wow.
So you could just resolve that issue and just take on F2 right now and then capture. But taking on B1.
Oh, this is scary.
A little scared.
I'm scared. Oh, he did it.
He did it and it worked out.
He did take on B1. There we go.
Funny, wow. Yeah. You don't want to make that critical. They only have one mistake so far, though. So if they only have one mistake, they should speed up. They should speed up if they're going to try to get to the big number. I don't know if they realize.
I wonder. Maybe they're going to try for number 2 overall.
This one seems like it shouldn't be that hard. It seems like there should be a dynamic that gets the job done. But why is he making moves without calculating? What is going on? Stop touching.
He has 7 minutes left. He has to.
But he should stop touching things. If he doesn't see the finish, he shouldn't touch anything. He should just wait it out. Looks like that. I'd rather him do this, what he's doing with his finger, than just make moves. But what else could possibly work other than Queen B1? Queen D5, Queen E6, Queen B5, Queen B5, King C2 happens. Yeah, that looks like it had to be the right first move. Now the issue becomes the chase. Check, and now Queen A5 is possible, and then Rook B4 finally comes in, and now Queen A4. No, Queen A4 is going to buy King D3. Oh, and then Queen back to B5. That's it. Queen check. Yeah, that's it.
There you got it. Let's go. A good note to point out, the number 2 overall also receives a prize, ladies and gentlemen. Let me pull it up real quick. The number 2 will also receive a prize. Best overall will win $500. At the moment, it's Eric Rosen and Tatov with 69. So if they want to get into the prize money right now, they need to get at least 70, which is a feasible number.
6 more puzzles with a guy like Alireza, but he has to solve basically a minute per puzzle in this phase. And he's organizing his attack. He's a little bit scared,
Oh,
and
wow,
the fact that he
no
found
way
that fast is impressive.
What am I watching?
That is pure, not just intuition, but understanding of harmony. The way he harmonized everything for the attack. And notice, you see right there how he noticed Queen E5 check. That's what I'm talking about. When you solve these puzzles, you want to know what the other player might be able to do before you make a move. And so now Rook D7 looked too impressive after Queen B7. Queen A3 is totally random. Queen F7 is Queen. Okay, what else can you do but Rook to C7?
Good question. The rest is random. Oh, a silent move. Queen to C6, threatening Rook E8. But Rook D7 does solve that, so that also looks like a dead end.
Yeah, no. He also has Queen E5 and Queen D6, which also seems to lead to a dead end. Yeah, Queen E5 check and Queen D6, and everything is covered up. It can't be Rook C3. That's too extraordinary.
I think you just have Rook E4 then. Fine. Queen E4.
And you're down 2 connected fast pawns. No, Rook E4 doesn't work because of Rook C7.
Ah, yeah, then you go back. Maybe it is.
No, but you have Queen E5 check, then Rook E4. And then your Queen guards C7, and you've shut down the E line. That looks work. So what is he scared of? Rook C7, Rook D7. Yeah, Rook D7. What the heck? We don't have another check. What? Man, this is weird and hard. Well, usually the weird ones are the hard ones.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, all checks. Queen B7, Queen A3. Queen B7 is Rook D7. Any more checks? Oh, maybe that's it. Wait, no. Queen B8, he has King F6 running. Man, he got a... No, we win it. Queen B7, Rook D7, Queen B8.
That is fantastic. There's no check on E5. You're threatening Rook E8 check. If he runs away, you... Oh, wow. That's a what?
If he runs away, you play Queen F4 check, and Queen G4 check picks off the Rook on D7.
No!
Hey, I'm wondering if I was right. That would be interesting. Queen B7 and Queen B8 would have been
finish.
That would have been extraordinary if that was correct.
Only 3 minutes left, ladies and gentlemen. We can show the overall leaderboard right now. Alireza is with 65th. He's 4th. If he wants to get second place, he needs to get at least 5 puzzles right in 3 minutes. It's gonna be a tough one.
Forget it. Forget it. Not gonna happen.
Oh, it didn't make it.
I'm sorry, but reality is reality. These things are hard. Chess is hard, and it's getting up to those insane level puzzles.
Yeah, they're gonna analyze what was the best move. I hope they go back to the ones they did wrong, because I actually really want to see if they can find out what they did wrong. The other puzzles. That would be really cool. But we're going to see, chat. There's only 2 more minutes left, so I don't think anyone can catch up to them. I'm looking at Danny and Aman on my other screen, and they're just analyzing puzzles. They're also not into it anymore. We're going to wait a little bit. If they go back to past puzzles, I hope... Oh, they do! Maurice, they're going to go back. They're going to see if it's Queen B8. Yo, it's Queen B8! There we go, man!
That's right. That's right. Your boy finding moves. I can keep my GM medal. That's what's up.
There we go, man. There we go. You can.
Queen
You can.
Indeed was nasty because of King F6, Queen F4 check is the biggest problem, I think. Queen F4, you can't. Your king has to go. But you know, it's funny because here, of course, King F6. I mean,
the engine.
Okay, he's playing a ridiculous move, but King F6 is the real defense that you have to look at. When Queen F4, King goes back to E7.
Yeah, so King F6, Queen F4, go back to E7. What is the future? Do we have something else? Do you take on... they're going to go out of it? Unlucky. First one they got wrong. Unlucky. There will always be a question. Will never be answered unless we're gonna watch the stream
I'm
back.
gonna answer it right now. You might not answer it, but I'm answering it.
Can always trust in you, man. Can always trust in you. It looks like Anna Maya and Anna Kremlin are still on their first original rush, so they will tie for the longest runs. There are only a few seconds left, everyone. Unfortunately, Maurice and I didn't get it as well. We got stuck at a very nice score of 10, but we'll try to do better next time.
We only had 10 attempts.
We're 10 out of 10. Hey, Maurice. You're 10 out of 10.
Not bad.
Absolutely. I'm crushing it with the bad puns today. Let's look at the leaderboard.
By the way, that puzzle, in case you want to know, I just put the position quickly into an engine. And the key move after King F6 was Queen takes B6 check.
Queen takes B6 check.
And then Queen C5, the attack is just rolling.
Absolutely. Cool, man. That's a good thing. you pumped it out fast. Impressive. The winner is Hikaru Nakamura and Levi Rosman for the overall leaderboard. Congratulations to them. Tatev and Eric Rosen get 70 points. I thought it was 69. Could also be 70.
Indeed,
but at least it doesn't matter.
Beating out a GM team of Aman, led by a GM in Aman, that's a very impressive number.
Very impressive, absolutely. Eric Rosen is a fierce tactician, and of course, Tatev is incredible at tactics as well. I think she does all her streams is with tactics. Ali Reza joined in a little bit too late, but we could see that he had a lot of fun with his brother. So
he also got a good score. He beat out Andrew Tang, who we know is a beast. He beat out 60, and he just jumped in to say, "Okay, let me just show you what I can do." That's very impressive.
Absolutely. Also, Alexander Kosteniak. But then again, she was being more of a tutor towards Rebecca, I feel. So, any case, amazing display, amazing thing of everything. Let's look at the prizes real quick for the final time. $4,000 in total today, where nearly, well, at least half of it goes towards Levi Rosman and Hikaru Nakamura. Don't worry, you can go to Twitter right now. I'm sure that one of the mods will post a link in the Twitch chat, Chess TV chat, Facebook chat, YouTube chat, wherever you're watching, because there's going to be a poll for the best clip. If not now, go to twitter.com/chess. Keep an eye out. Maybe your favorite streamer didn't make it into the prize fund, but they did have a hilarious clip, and maybe they can win $500. It's always nice for your streamer. Maybe they return it, gives you a sub, give you a hug. You never know. Longest attempt will go to Anna Maya and Anna Kremlin, who both are still on the first run, so didn't let go. The schedule, or let's see, the format for tomorrow. What are you going to see tomorrow? It's going to be a 16 invited streamer playing a single elimination bracket. So it's just 16 players, puzzle battle, 3 rounds. It's going to be epic. I think, don't shoot me for this, but I think it's going to be all Danny Wrench who's going to be hosting and competing. So it's going to be a very interesting day, especially, but I had a blast today, Maurice. You are a puzzle god. You are a puzzle god.
You look at these players, you realize why they are the ratings that they are. Incredible solutions that they came up with today. Great ideas, great puzzles. And again, we need to get the secret sauce of how these puzzles work. You could tell me, you know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe.
Just backdoor. I won't tell anybody. I mean, maybe my entire stream, Twitch stream might know. Nobody else will know. Nobody else will know.
Good sample size. All right, Maurice. It's been an absolute pleasure, man. Thank you so much. We will see you back on day 4 and day 5. No hard commitments, but I think
I'm not sure about 4 yet, but 5 for sure.
5 for sure. Let's hope for 4. And I want to thank you, chat, for being here. Make sure to follow this man. You're on the other side. Twitch.tv/GM Ashley. And we will see you in the next stream. Any closing words, Maurice?
That was fun. The more puzzles you do, the sharper you get. The more you can knock people out. You want to hit them hard. And that's what you do. You solve your tactical puzzles. Stay sharp, everybody. Do the work.
We'll see you tomorrow for the puzzle battle. Take care, everyone. Peace.